Hearing that the Pandavas had been banished, the Bihojas, the Vrishnis, and the Andihakas went to those heroes residing in affliction in the great forest, and the consanguineous relatives of Pankhala and Dhiris Taketu, the king of Khedi, and those celebrated and powerful brothers, the Kaikeyas, their hearts fired with wrath, went to the forest to see the sons of Pritha, and approaching the sons of Dhritarashtra, they said, "What should we do?" And those bulls of the Kshatriya race, with Vasudeva at their head, sat themselves down round Yudhishthira the just, and respectful, saluting that foremost of the Kurus, Kesava, mournful, said, "The earth shall drink the blood of Duryodhana and Karna, of Dusasana and the wicked Sakuni, slaying these in battle and defeating their followers, along with their royal allies. We are install Yudhishthira the just on the throne. The wicked deserve to be slain. Verily, this is eternal morality." And when on account of the wrongs of Pritha's sons, Janardana had thus got into a passion, and seemed bent upon consuming all created things, Arjuna exerted himself to pacify him, and beholding Kesava angry, Falguna began to recite defeats achieved in his former lives, but that soul of all things, himself immeasurably, the eternal one of infinite energy, the Lord of Prajapati himself, the supreme ruler of the worlds, Vishnu of profound wisdom. Arjuna said, "In days of old thou hast wandered on the Gandhimadana mountains for 10,000 years, as a Muni, having his home where evening fell. Living upon water alone, thou hast in days of old dwelt for full 11,000 years by the lake of Puskara, and with arms upraised and standing on one leg, thou hast passed 100 years on the high hills of Vadari, living all the while upon air, and leaving aside thy upper garment, with body emaciated, and looking like a bundle of veins, thou hast lived on the banks of the Sarasvati, employed in thy sacrifice, extending for 12 years, and in observance of thy vow, thou hast stood on one leg for the length of 1,000 years of the celestials on the plains of Prabhasa, which it behoveth the virtuous to visit. Vyasa have told me that thou art the cause of the creation and its course, and the Lord of Kshetra. Thou art the mover of all minds, and the beginning and end of all things. Our asceticism resteth in thee, and thou too art the embodiment of all sacrifices, and the eternal one, slaying the Asura Naraka, offspring of the earth, first begotten, thou hast obtained his earrings, and performed the first horse sacrifice, and having performed that feat, thou hast become victorious over all. Thou hast slain all the Daityas and Danavas mustered in battle, and giving the Lord of Sakhi, the sovereignty of the universe, thou hast taken thy birth among men. Having floated on the primordial waters, thou subsequently becamest Hari, and Brahma, and Surya, and Dharma, and Dhatri, and Yama, and Anala, and Vayu, and Vaisravana, and Rudra, and Kala, and the firmament, the earth, the 10 directions, thyself increate. Thou art the Lord of mobile and the immobile universe, the creator of all, thou foremost of all existence. And in the forest of Hitrahatiha thou didst gratify with thy sacrifice the chief of all the gods, the heights of the high. At each sacrifice thou didst offer, according to shares, gold by hundreds and thousands, and becoming the son of Aditi, thou hast been known as the younger brother of Indra, and even while a child thou didst, in consequence of thy energy, feel but 3 steps on the heaven, the firmament, and the earth, and covering the heaven and the firmament, thou didst dwell in the body of the sun, and afflicted him with thy own splendor. And in thy incarnations on those 1,000 occasions thou hast slain sinful asuras by hundreds, by destroying the Mauravas and the Pashas, and slaying Nisunda and Naraka. Thou hast again handed safe the road to Pragigiotisha. Thou hast slain Avitri, et Jarutihi, and Kratiha, and Sisupala, with his adherents, and Jarasandha, and Saivya, and Satadihanvam, and on thy car, whoring like unto clowns, and effulgent like the sun, thou didst obtain for thy queen the doctor of Bihosha, defeating Hokimi in Baitali. Thou didst in full slay Indradyumna, and the Yavana called Kaseruman, and slaying Salva, the lord of Saubiha, thou didst destroy that city of Saubiha itself. These have all been slain in Baitali. Listen to me as I speak of others. At Iravati thou hast slain King Bihosha, equal unto Kartavirya in Baitali, and both Gopati and Talaketu have been slain by thee. Thou hast appropriated unto thyself the sacred seat of Dvaraka, abounding in wealth, and agreeably unto the rich themselves, and thou wilt submerge it at the end within the ocean. How can crookedness be in thee, devoided as thou art, of anger and envy, and untruth and cruelty? All the riches coming unto thee, seated in thy glory on the sacrificial ground, seeking protection of thee, and thou stayest at the end of the yuga, contracting all things and withdrawing this universe into thy own self, thou oppressor of all foes. At the beginning of the yuga, there sprang from thy lotus-like navel Brahma himself, and Lord of all mobile and immobile things, and whose is this entire universe. When the dreadful Danavas, Madhu, and Kaitava were bent on slaying Brahma, beholding their impious endeavor, thou wert angry, and from thy forehead sprang Sambhihu, the holder of the trident. Thus these 2 foremost of the deities have sprung from thy body in order to do thy work. Even Narada it was who hath told me this. Thou didst in the forest of Haitrahatiha celebrate with plentiful gifts a grand sacrifice consisting of a multitude of heats. The deeds thou hast performed while still a boy, having recourse to thy might and aided by Baladeva, have never been done by others, nor are they capable of being achieved by others in future. Thou didst even dwell in Kailasa, accompanied by Brahmanas. Having addressed Krishna thus, the illustrious Pandava, who was the soul of Krishna, became dumb when Janardana, saying, Thou art mine, and I am thine, while all that is mine is thine. He that hateth thee hateth me as well, and he that followeth thee followeth me. Thou art Nara, and I am Narayana, or Hari. We are the rishis Nara and Narayana, born in the world of men for a special purpose. Thou art from me, and I am from thee. No one can understand the difference that is between us. when the illustrious Kesava had said in the midst of that assembly of brave kings, all excited with anger, Pankhali, surrounded by the Hiristadiuma and her other heroic brothers, approached him of eyes like lotus leaves, seated with his cousins and desirous of protection, addressing in angry accents that he pushed off all, saying, Asita and Devala have said that, in the matter of creation of all things, thou hast been indicated as the own Prajapati and the creator of all the worlds, and Jamadaginiya saith that thou art Vishnu, and that thou art sacrificer, and he for whom the sacrifice is performed, and the rich indicate thee as forgiveness and truth. Kasyapa have said that thou art sacrifice is sprung from truth. Narada calleth thee the god of the Sadhiyas and of the Sivas, the creator and the lord of all things, and thou repeatedly sportest with the gods, including Brahma and Sankara and Sakra, even as children sporting with their toys. And the firmament is covered by thy head, and the earth by thy feet. These walls are as thy womb, and thou art the eternal on, with riches sanctified by Vedic lore and asceticism, and whose souls have been purified by penance, and who are contented with soul vision. Thou art the best of all objects. Thou art the refuge of all royal sages, devoted to virtuous acts, never turning their backs on the field of the battle, and possessed of every accomplishment. Thou art the Lord of all, thou art omnipresent, thou art the soul of all things, and thou art the active power pervading everything, the rulers of the several worlds, those worlds themselves, the stellar conjunctions, the 10 points of the horizon, the firmament, the moon, the sun, are all established in thee. The immortality of creatures, the immortality of the universe, are established in thee. Thou art the supreme Lord of all creatures, celestial or human. Therefore it is that impelled by the affection thou weariest me, that I will relate to thee my griefs. How could one like me, the wife of Pritha's sons, the sister of the Hiristadiumna, and the friend of thee, be dragged to the assembly during my season, stained with blood, with a single cloth on, trembling all over, and weeping? I was dragged to the court of the Kurus, beholding me stained with blood in the presence of those kings in the assembly, the wicked sons of the Dhritarashtra, logged at me, while the sons of Pandu and the Pankhalas and the Vrishnis lived. They dared express the desire of using me as their slave. I am, according to the ordinance, the doctor-in-law of both Dhritarashtra and Bhishma, yet they wished to make of me a slave by force. I blame the Pandavas, who are might and foremost in battle, for they saw their own wedded wife, know over all the world, treated with such cruelty. Fear on the might of Bhimasena, fear on the Gandiva of Arjuna, for they both suffered me to be thus disgraced by little men. This eternal course of morality is ever followed by the virtues, that the husband, however weak, protecteth his wedded wife. By protecting the wife, one protecteth his offspring, and by protecting the offspring, one protecteth his own self. On self is begotten on wife, and therefore it is that the wife is called jaya. A wife should protect her lord, remembering that he is to take his birth in her womb. The Pandavas never forsake the person that soliciteth their protection, and yet they abandoned me who solicited it. By my 5 husbands, 5 sons of exceeding energy have been born of me. Prativindihya, by Yudhishthira, Sutasoma, by Vrikodara, Srutakirti, by Arjuna, Satanika, by Nakula and Srutakarman, by the youngest all of them of energy that cannot be baffled for their sake. It was necessary to protect me, even as Radiumna, they are mighty warriors all. They are foremost of both men, and invincibly in battle by any foe. Why do they bear the wrongs inflicted by the sons of Dhritarashtra of such contemplative strength? Deprived of their kingdom by deception, the Pandavas were made bondsmen, and I myself was dragged to the assembly while in my season, and having only a single cloth on, fear on that Gandiva, which none else can string save Arjuna and Bhima and thyself. Fear on the strength of Bhima, and fear on the prowess of Arjuna, sighs Duryodhana, have drawn breath even for a moment. He it is who formerly drove the guileless Pandavas with their mother from the kingdom, while they were children still engaged in study and the observance of their vows. It is that sinful wretch who, horribly to relate, mixed in Bhima food fresh and virulent poison in full dose. Bhima digested that poison with the food without sustaining any injury, for Bhima days had not been ended. It is Duryodhana who, at the house standing by the banyan called Pramana, bound Bhima, sleeping unsuspectingly, and casting him into the Ganges, returned to the city. The powerful Bhimasena, the son of Kunti, possessed of mighty arms, on waking from sleep, tore his bonds and rose from the water. It is Duryodhana who caused venomous black cobras to beat all over the body of Bhimasena. That slayer of foes died not. Awaking, the son of Kunti smashed all the serpents, and with his left hand killed the favorite charioteer of Duryodhana. Again, while the children were lying asleep at Varanavata with their mother, it is he who set fire to the house, intending to burn them to death. Who is there capable of doing such as an act? It was then that the illustrious Kunti, overtaken by this calamity and surrounded by the flames, began to cry out in terror, speaking to her children, "I am undone. How shall we escape from this fire today? I shall meet with destruction with my little children." Then Bhima, possessed of mighty arms and prowess like unto the force of the wind, comforted his illustrious mother, his brothers, saying, like that king of birds, Gadura, the son of Vinyata, I will spring up into the air. We have no fear from this fire. And then, taking his mother on his left flank, and the king in his right, and the twins on each shoulder, and Vivatsu on his back, the mighty Vrikodara, thus taking all of them at one leap, cleared the fire and delivered his mother and brother from the conflagration. Setting out that night with their renowned mother, they came near the forest of Hidingva, and while fatigued and distressed, they were sleeping fast with her. A Rakshasa woman called Hidingva approached them. Beholding the Pandavas with their mother asleep on the ground, influenced by desire, she sought to have Bhimasena for her lord. The weak one then took up Bhima feet on her lap to press them with her soft hands. The mighty Bhima, of immeasurable energy, of prowess that could not be baffled, then woke from sleep and asked her, saying, "What dost thou wish here?" Thus asked by him, the Rakshasa lady of faultless features, capable besides of assuming any form at will, replied unto the high-souled Bhima, saying, "Do ye speedily fly from this place? My brother gifted with strength will come to slay ye, therefore speed enter not." Bhima haughtily said, "I do not fear him. If he cometh here, I will slay him." Hearing their converse, that vilest of cannibals came to the spot, frightful form and dreadful to behold, uttering loud cries. As he came, the Rakshasa said, "Hidingva, with whom dost thou converse? Bring him unto me, I will eat him up." it behoveth thee to tarry not, moved by compassion. The Haxhasa lady of faultless features and poor heart said nothing out of pity. Then the man-eating monster, uttering dreadful cries, rushed at Bhima with great force, and approaching him furiously, the mighty cannibal, possessed with rage, caught hold of Bhima's hand with his own and clenching fast his other hand and making it hard as the thunderbolt of Indra, suddenly struck Bhima a blow that descended with the force of lightning. His hand having been seized by the Rakshasa, Vrikodara, without being able to break it, flew into a rage. Then a dreadful combat took place between Bhimasena and Hirinva, both skilled in all weapons, and which was like unto the encounter of Vasava with Vritra. And after sporting with the Rakshasa for a long while, the powerful Bhima of might energy slew the cannibal when the lady had become weak with exertion. Then, having slain Hirinva and taken Hirinva at their head, of whom was born Gihatoti Kakha, Bhima and his brothers went away. Then all those repressors of their foes, accompanied by their mother and surrounded by many Brahmanas, proceeded towards Ekakhakra in the matter of this their journey. Vyasa, ever engaged in their welfare, had become their counselor. Then, arriving at Ekakhakra, the Pandavas of his vows there slew a mighty cannibal, Vaka by name, terribly as Hirinva himself. And having slain that fierce cannibal, Bhima, that foremost of his meters, went with all his brothers to the capital of Drupada. And as thou hast acquired Hokimini, the doctor of Vihismaka, even Savyasakhin, while residing there, obtained me. Arjuna won me in the Sivayamvara, having performed a feat difficult of achievement by others, and having fought with the assembled kings. Thus, afflicted with numerous griefs, and in great distress, I am living with the Haumia at our head, deprived of the company of the adorable Kunti. Why do these that are gifted with strength and possessed of the prowess of the lion sit indifferently beholding me thus afflicted by enemies, despicably, suffering such wrongs at the hands of wicked and evil-doing foes of small strength? I am to burn in grief long. Born I was in a great haste, coming into the world in an extraordinary way. I am the beloved wife of the Pandavas, and the daughter-in-law of the illustrious Pandu, the foremost of women, and devoted to my husband. Even I was seized by her. In the sight of the Pandavas, each of whom is like an Indra himself. Saying this, the mute-speeched Krishna hid her face with her soft hands like the buds of lotus, and began to weep. And the tears of Pankali, begot of grief, washed her deep, plump and graceful breast, crowned with auspicious marks, and weeping her eyes and sighing frequently, she said these words angrily and in a shocked voice. Husbands or sons, or friends, or brothers, or father, have I none, nor have I thee. For ye are, beholding me treated so cruel by inferior foes, sit still unmoved. My grief at Karna ridiculously is incapable of being assuaged. On these grounds, I deserve to be ever protected by thee, or relationship, thy respect, or friendship, and thy lordship. In that assembly of heroes, Vasudeva then spake unto the weeping Draupadi as follows. The wives of those with whom thou art angry shall weep even like thee, beholding their husbands dead on the ground, weltering in blood, and their bodies covered with the arrows of Vivatsu. Weep not, for I will exert to the utmost of my power for the sons of Pandu. I promise thou shalt be the queen of kings. The heaven might fall, or the Himavat might split, the earth might be rent, or the waters of the ocean might dry up, my words shall never be futile. Hearing those words of Achyuta, in reply, Draupadi looked obliquely at her third husband, and Arjuna said unto Draupadi, Grieve not, it shall be even as the slayer of Madhu hath said, it can never be otherwise. Dhritarhyumna said, I will slay Drona, Sikhihanding, we will slay the grandfather, and Bhigasena, we will slay Duryodhana, and Dhananjaya, we will slay Karna. And, assisted by Rama and Krishna, we are invincibly in battle by even the slayer himself of Vritra, what are the sons of Dhritarashtra. After these words had been spoken, all the heroes there turned their faces towards Vasudeva, who then in their midst began to speak as follows. If I had been present at Dvaraka, then this evil would not have befallen thee, and coming unto the gambling match, even if invited by the son of Anvika or Duryodhana, or by the other Kauravas, I would have prevented the game from taking place by showing its many evils, summoning to my aid Bhishma and Drona and Kripa and Valika. For thy sake I would have told the son of Vikhitravirya, let thy sons have nothing to do with dice. I would have shown the many evils through which thou hast fallen into such distress, and the son of Virasena was formerly deprived of his kingdom. Untalked of evils before our men from dice, I would have described how our men, once engaged in the game, continued to play. Woman, dice, hunting and drinking, to which people become addicted in consequence of temptation, have been regarded as the four evils that deprived a man of prosperity, and those vested in disasters are of opinion that evils attend upon all these. They that are addicted to dice know all its evil. Appearing before the son of Anvika, I would have pointed out that through dice men in a day lose their possessions and fall into distress, and are deprived of their untasted wealth, and exchange harsh words. I would have pointed out these and other attendant evils, if he had accepted my words, thus addressed the welfare of the Kurus as also virtue itself would both have been secured, and if he had rejected my gentle counsels offered as medicine, then I would have compelled him by force, and if those who wait at his court, professing to be his friends, in reality his foes, had supported him, then I would have slain them all, along with those gamblers there present. It is owing to my absence from the Anartha country at that time that thou hast fallen into such distress, begotten of dice. On arriving at Dvaraka, I learned from Yudhishthira all about thy calamity, and directly I heard it with a heart sore agitated by grief, have I speedily come here wishing to see thee. Ye have all fallen into deep distress. I see thee with thy brothers plunged in misfortune. Yudhishthira said, Why wert thou absent? And while thou wert away, where didst thou dwell, and what didst thou do while out of thy kingdom? Krishna said, I had gone for the purpose of destroying the seat of Salva, and listen to the reasons I had for doing. The heroic son of Damaghosha, the well-known King Sisupala of might arms and great energy, was slain by me at thy Rajasuya sacrifice, because that wicked one could not from anger bear to see the first worship offered to me. Hearing that he had been slain, Salva, burning with fierce anger, came to the Varaka, while it was in peace, myself being away, residing with you here, and having arrived there on a car made of precious metals, and hence called the Sauva, he had an encounter with the youthful prince of the Frisian Haze, those bulls of that line, and fought with them mercilessly, and slaughtering many youthful Frisians of heroic valor, the wicked one devastated all the gardens of the city. And he said, where is that wretched of the Frisian Haze, Vasudeva, the evil-souled son of Vasudeva? I will humbly and baitly the pride of that person so eager for fight. Tell me truly, I will go there where he is, and after killing that slave of Kansa and Cassie, will I return. By my weapon I swear that I will not return without slaying him, and exclaiming repeatedly, where is he, the Lord of Saubihar, who chef to this place, and that, desirous of encountering me in battle? And Salva said, impelled by wrath for the destruction of Sisupala, I shall today send to the mansion of Yama that treacherous miscreant of mean mind. And he further said, that Janardana shall I slay, who wretched that he is, have killed my brother, King Sisupala, my brother, who was a boy of tender years, and who was slain not on the field of battle, unprepared as he was. Having wailed thus, and having abused me thus, he rose into the sky on his car of precious metals, capable of going anywhere at will. On returning, I heard what the evil-minded and wicked king of Martika had said regarding myself, and I was agitated with wrath, and having reflected upon everything, I set my heart upon slaying him, and learning of his oppression of the Anarthas, of his abuse of myself, and of his excessive arrogance, I resolved upon the destruction of that wretch, and I accordingly set out for slaying the Saubihar, and searching him here and there, I found him in an island in the midst of the ocean. Then, blowing my conch, called the Pankhajaniya, obtained from the sea, and challenging Salva to combat, I stood for the fight. At that instant I had an encounter with numerous Danavas, all of whom, however, I subdued and prostrated on the ground. It was owing to this affair that I could not then come. As soon as I heard of the unfair game at dice at Hastinapur, I have come here, desirous of seeing ye who have been plunged in distress. Yudhishthira said, tell thou in detail of the death of the Lord of Saubihar. My curiosity hath not been appeased by thy narration. Vasudeva said, hearing that the son of Srutasravas had been slain by me, Salva came to the seat of the Varavati, and the wicked king, stationing his force in array, besieged that seat around and above, and stationing himself in the upper regions, the king began his fight with the city. And that encounter commenced with a thick shower of weapons from all sides. And the city at that time was well fortified on all sides, according to the science, with pennons and arcs and combatants and walls and turrets and engines and miners, and street barricaded with spiked woodworks and towers and edifices with gateways, well filled with provisions and offensive weapons and engines for holding burning brands and fires, and vessels of deer skins, and trumpets, tabors, and drums, lances and forks, and sataginis, and plowshares, hockets, bows of stone, and battle axes, and other weapons, and shields, and bossed with iron, and engines for holding bows and bullets, and hot liquids. And the city was well defended by numerous cars, and Bagada, and Siranva, and Udihava, and others, and by warriors of prowess tried in battle, are born and capable of encountering any foe, and these are placing themselves on commanding posts, aided by cavalry and standard bearers, began to defend the town, and Ugrasena and Udihava and others, to prevent carelessness, proclaimed throughout the city that no bar should drink, and all the Vrishnis and the Andihakas, well knowing that they would be slain by Salva if they behaved carelessly, remained sober and watchful, and the police soon drove out of the city all mimes and dancers and singers of the Anartha country, and all the bridges over rivers were destroyed, and boats forbidden to ply, and the trenches were spiked with poles at the bottom, and the land around the city for full 2 miles was rendered uneven, and holes and pits were dug thereon, and combustibles were secreted below the surface. Is naturally strong and always well defended, and filled with all kinds of weapons. And in consequence of the preparations made, the city was more prepared than ever to meet the foe, and in consequence of all this, the city looked like that of Indra himself, and at the time of Salva approach, nobody could either enter or leave the town of the Vrishnis and the Andihakas without presenting the sign that had been agreed upon. And all the streets of the town and the open spaces were filled with numerous elephants and horses, and the combatants were all especially fortified with allowances and wages, and rations, and weapons, and dresses, and amongst the combatants there was none who was not paid in gold, and none who was not paid at all, and none who was not somehow obliged, and none who was not of tried valor, and it was thus the Varaka, abounding in well-ordered arrangements, was defended by Ahuka. Salva, the lord of Saubiha, came towards our city with an immense force consisting of infantry, cavalry, and elephants, and the army headed by King Salva, consisting of 4 kinds of forces, occupied a level ground commanding a copious water supply, and forsaking cemeteries and temples dedicated to the gods, and sacred trees, and grounds covered by ant hills, that host occupied every other place, and the roads were blocked up by the divisions of the army, and the sacred entrances were all blocked upon the enemy camp, and like unto the lord of birds, the ruler of Saubiha rushed towards the Varaka, bringing with him his horse equipped with all kinds of arms, skilled in all weapons, consisting of a dense display of cars and elephants and cavalry, abounding in banners, and well-paid and well-fed foot soldiers, possessed of great strength, and bearing every mark of heroism, and furnished with wonderful chariots and bows. And beholding the arm of Salva, the youthful prince of the Vrishni race resolved to encounter it, sailing out of the city, and Harudesna, Samba, and the mighty warrior Pradyumna sailed out, ascending on their chariots, and clad in mail, and decked with ornaments, with colors flying, resolved to encounter the might and countless host of Salva. And Samba, taking up his bows, eagerly attacked on the field of battle Kishemayvridhi, the commander of Salva forces, and his chief counselor. And the son of Jambavati then began to shower arrows in a continuous stream, even as Indra showereth down rain. And then Kishemayvridhi, the commander of Salva forces, bore that shower of arrows immovably as the Himavat, and Kishemayvridhi on his part discharged at Samba mighty volley of shafts, aided by his power of illusion, and dispersing by counter-illusion that the shafts inspired by illusion, Samba showered on his car 1,000 arrows, then pierced by the shafts of Samba, and over on helmet there with Kishemayvridhi, the commander of the hostile host, left the field by the help of his fleet steed. And when the wicked general of Salva had left the field, a mighty Daitya called Vegavat rushed at my son, and thus attacked the heroic Samba, the perpetuator of the Vrishna haze, bore that onset of Bhagavat, keeping his ground. And the heroic Samba of prowess incapable of being baffled, wielding a quickly going mace, hurled it speedily at Bhagavat, and struck with that mace, Bhagavat fell down on the ground like a weather-beaten and feathered lord of the forest of decayed roots. And on that heroic Asura of might energy, being slain with the mace, my son entered within that might host and began to fight with awe, and a well-known Danava named Vivindihya, a might warrior yielding a large and powerful bow, encountered Harudesna, and the encounter between Harudesna and Vivindihya was a feast as that in days of yore between Vritra and Vasava, and engaged with each other the combatants fixed each other with their arrows, uttering loud roars like unto two powerful lions. Then the son of Hokimini fixed on his bowstring a mighty weapon possessing the splendor of fire or the sun, and capable of destroying our foes, having first vivified it with incantations. Then that mighty warrior, my son, fired with wrath, challenged Vivindihya, and discharged the weapon at him. And the Danava, struck with that weapon, fell down on the ground, a lifeless corpse. And beholding Vivindihya slain, and the whole host waver, Salva advanced again on his beautiful car, capable of going everywhere. And beholding Salva on that beautiful car of his, the combatants of the Varaka wavered with fear. Pradyumna sailed out, and bidding the Anarthas be of good cheer, said, Waver ye not, and saying, Behold me fight. Even a Shaba force repelled that car with Salva on it. Yea, Yadavas, this day I shall with my weapons, like unto serpents, discharged from my bow with my hand, destroy this host of the Lord of Saubiha. Be of good cheer, ye all, fear not, the Lord of Saubiha will be slain today. Attacked by me, the wretch will meet with destruction together with his car. Upon Pradyumna, speaking thus with cheerful heart, the Yadava host remained on the field and began to fight cheerfully. Having spoken thus unto the Yadavas, the son of Hokimini ascended his golden car, and the car he rode was drawn by excellent steeds in mail, and over it stood a standard bearing the figure of a Makara with gaping mouth and face as Yama, and with his steeds more flying than running on the ground, he rushed against the foe, and the hero equipped with quiver and sword with fingers cased in leather twanged his bow possessed of the splendor of the lightning with great strength, and transferring it from hand to hand, as if in contempt of the enemy, spread confusion among the Danavas and other warriors of the city of Saubiha. And as he sat in contempt of the foe, and continuously slew the Danavas in battle, no one could mark the slightest interval between his successive shafts, and the color of his face changed not, and his limbs trembled not. And people unheard his loud leonin horse, indicative of wonderful valor, and the aquatic monster, with mouth wide open, that devourer of all fishes, placed on golden flagstaff of that best of cars, struck terror into the hearts of Salva warriors. And Pradyumna, the mover of foes, rushed with speed against Salva himself, desirous of an encounter, and braved by the heroic Pradyumna, in that might battle, the angry Salva could ill bear the challenge, and that conqueror of hostile cities, Salva, maddened by anger, descended from his beautiful car of unchecked speed, resolved to encounter Pradyumna. And the people beheld the fight between Salva and the foremost of Vrishni heroes, which was even like unto the encounter between Vasava with Vali. And mounting on his beautiful car, decked with gold and furnished with flags and flag staffs and quivers, the illustrious and mighty Salva began to discharge his arrows at Paradumna, by the energy of his arms overwhelmed Salva in the combat by a thick shower of arrows. The king of Saubhiha, however, thus attacked in battle by Paradumna, endured him not, discharged at my son arrows that were like blazing fire. The mighty Paradumna parried off that arrowy shower. Beholding this, Salva hailed on my son other weapons of blazing splendor. Then, fixed by the shafts of Salva, the son of Hokimini discharged without loss of time an arrow that was capable of entering the vitals of a foe in fight. And that winged shaft, shot by my son, piercing Salva Mayor, entered his heart, whereupon he fell down in a swoon. And beholding the heroic King Salva falling down deprived of sense, the foremost of the Danavas fled away, rending the ground beneath their feet, and the arm of Salva sent up exclamations of awe and alas, seeing their king, the lord of Saubhiha, drop down bereft of sense. And regaining his senses, the mighty Salva rose in awe of sudden, discharged his arrows on Paradumna. Then the heroic and mighty Ahmed Paradumna, sorely pierced by his adversary about his throat, was enfeebled on his car. And wounding the son of Hokimini, Salva set up a slot like unto the roar of a lion, and filling the entire earth with it. And when my son became senseless, Salva, without losing a moment, again discharged at him other shafts difficult to bear, and pierced with numberless arrows, and deprived of his senses, Paradumna became motionless on the field of battle. Afflicted with the arrows of Salva, when Paradumna became senseless, the Vrishnis who had come to the fight were all disheartened and filled with grief, and the combatants of the Vrishni and Andihaka haste burst into exclamations of awe and alas, while great joy was felt by the enemy. And beholding him thus deprived of sense, his trained charioteer, the son of Daruka, soon carried him off the field by the help of his fleet steeds. The car had not gone far when that best of warriors regained his senses, and taking up his bow, addressed his charioteer, saying, "What hast done thou? Why dost thou go leaving the field of battle? This is not the custom of the Vrishni heroes in battle. Hast thou been bewildered at the sight of Salva in that fierce encounter, or hast thou been disheartened beholding the fight? Tell me truly thy mind." The charioteer answered, "I have not been confounded, nor have fear taken possession of me. On the other hand, the task, Aoian, of vanquishing Salva is difficult for thee. Therefore I am slowly retiring from the field. This wretch is stronger than thou art. It behoveth a charioteer to protect the warrior on the car, however brave, when he is deprived of his senses. Thou shouldst always be protected by me, even as it behoveth thee to protect me. Thinking that the warrior on the car should always be protected, I am carrying thee away. Further, thou art alone, while the Danavas are many. Thinking that thou art not equal to them in the encounter, I am going away." When the charioteer had spoken thus, he who hath the Makara for his mark replied unto him, saying, "Turn the car, never do again, never. Turn thou from the fight, while I am alive. He is no son of the Vrishni haste who forsaketh the field, or slayeth the foe, falling at his feet, and crying, I am thine, or killeth a woman, a boy, or an old man, or a warrior in distress, deprived of his car, or with his weapons broken. Thou art born in the race of charioteers, and trained to thy craft. And thou art acquainted with the customs of the Frisians in battle, vested as thou art with all the customs of the Frisians in battle. Do thou never again fly from the field as thou hast done. What will the irrepressible Madhava, the elder brother of Gada, say to me when he bereaveth that I have left the field of battle in bewilderment, or that I have been struck on the back, run away from the combat? What will the elder brother of Kesava, the might-armed Valadeva, clad in blue and inebriant with wine, say when he returneth? What will that lie among men, the grandson of Sini, that great warrior, say on hearing that I have forsaken the fight? And what will the ever victorious Sihamba, the irrepressible Harudesna, and Gada, and Sarana, and Akrura, of might arms, say unto me? What will the wives of the Frisian heroes, when they meet together, say of me who had hitherto been considered as brave and well conducted, respectable and possessed of manly pride? They will even say, this Pradyuma is a coward who cometh here, leaving the great battle. Fie on him, they will never say, well done. Ridiculously, with exclamation of fie, is to me or a person like me more than death. Therefore, do thou never again leave the field of battle, reposing the charge on me. Hari, the slayer of Madhu, hath gone to the sacrifice of the Piharata lion. Therefore, I cannot bear to be quiet now. When the brave Kritavarman was sailing out to encounter Salva, prevented him, saying, I will resist Salva, do thou stay, for honoring me, the son of Hiridika desisted. Having left the field of battle, what shall I say unto that might warrior when I meet him, when that irrepressible one of might arms, the holder of the conch, the discus, and the mace, returneth? What shall I say unto him of eyes like lotus leaves? Satyaki and Valadeva and others of the Frisian and the Haka races always boast of me. What shall I say unto them? Having left the field of battle and with wounds of arrows on my back, while being carried away by thee, I shall by no means be able to live. Therefore, turn that car speedily, and never do again, even in times of greatest danger. I do not think life worth much, having fled from the field like a coward, and my back pierced with the arrows. Hast thou ever seen me, flying fear from the field of battle like a coward? It behoved thee not to forsake the battle, while my desire of fighting was not yet gratified. Do thou, therefore, go back to the field. Thus addressed the son of Sutahase replied in haste unto Pradyumna, that foremost of all endowed with strength, in these sweet words: I fear not to guide the horses on the field of battle, and I am acquainted with the customs of the Frisians in war. It is not otherwise in the least. Those that guide the car are taught that the warriors on the car is by all means to be protected by his charioteer. Thou wert much afflicted, thou wert much wounded by the arrows shot by Salva. Thou wert deprived of thy senses, therefore is it that I retire from the field. Now that thou hast regained thy senses without much ado, do thou witness my skill in guiding the horses. I have been begotten by Daruka, and I have been duly trained. I will now penetrate into the celebrated array of Salva without fear. Saying this, the chariota, pulling the reins, began to lead the horses with speed towards the field of battle, and struck with the whip and pulled by the reins, those excellent steeds seemed to be flying in the air, performing various beautiful motions, now circular, now similar, now dissimilar, now to the right, now to the left, and those steeds, understanding as it were the intention of Daruka's son, and with such lightness of hand, burned with energy, and seemed to go without touching the ground with their feet. And that bow among men well led round Salva host so easily that they who witnessed it wondered exceedingly, and the Lord of Saubiha, unable to hear that manoeuvre of Pradyumna, instantly sent their shafts at the chariota of his antagonist. The chariota, however, without taking any note of the force of those arrows, continued to go along the right. Then the Lord of Saubiha again discharged at Masonba Hokimini a shower of various kinds of weapons. That slayer of hostile heroes, the son of Hokimini, showing with a smile his lightness of hand, cut out those weapons off as they reached him. Finding his arrows cut off by Pradyumna, the lord of Saubiha, having recourse to the dreadful illusion natural to Asuras, began to pour a thick shower of arrows. Cutting into pieces those powerful Daitya weapons, shoot at him in mid-career by means of his Brahma weapon. Pradyumna discharged winged shafts of other kinds, and these delighting in blood, warding of the shafts of Daitya pierced his head, bosom, and face. And at those wounds Salva fell down senseless, and on the mean-minded Salva, falling down, afflicted with Pradyumna arrows, the son of Hokimini aimed another arrow at him, capable of destroying every foe. And beholding that arrow worshipped by all the Dasarhas, and flaming like fire, and fatal as a venomous snake, fixed on the bowstring, the firmament was filled with exclamations of "Oh!" and "Alas!" Then all the celestials with Indra and the Lord of Treasuries at their head sent Narada and the God of Wind, and with the speed of mind. And these two approaching the son of Hokimini delivered unto him the message of the celestials, saying, King Salva is not to be slain by thee. Do thou draw back the arrow, he is unslavably by thee in fight. There breatheth not a person who cannot be killed by that arrow. The Creator hath ordained his death at the hands of Krishna, the son of Devaki. Let this be not falsified. Thereupon, with a glad heart, Pradyumna withdrew that best of arrows from his excellent bow and deposited it back in his quiver. And then the mild Salva, afflicted with the arrows of Pradyumna, rose disheartened and speedily went away. Then the wicked Salva, thus afflicted by the freshness, mounted on his car of precious metals, and leaving Devaraka, scudded through the skies. When Salva had left the seat of the Anarthas, I returned to it, on the completion of thy great Rajasuya sacrifice. On my arrival, I found Devaraka shorn of its splendor, and there were not sounds of Vedic recitation or sacrificial offerings, and the excellent damsels were all destitute of ornaments, and the gardens were devoid of beauty, and alarmed by the aspect, I asked the son of Hiridika, saying, Why is it that the men and women of the seat of the freshness are woe begone? Thus asked the son of Hiridika. He related to me in detail the invasion of the seat by Salva, and his subsequent departure from it. And hearing now, even then I made up my mind to slay Salva, and encouraging the citizens, a cheerful addressed King Ahuka and Anaki Dundihuvi, and the chief heroes of the Vrishni race, saying, Do ye stay in the city, taking every care, and know that I go to slay Salva. I had to not to the seat of the Varavati without slaying him. I will again come to ye having compassed the destruction of Salva, together with his car of precious metals. Do ye strike up the sharp and middle and flat notes of the Dundi hoof, dreadful to foes? And thus adequately encouraged by me, those heroes cheerful said unto me, Go and slay the enemies. And thus receiving the benedictions of those warriors with glad hearts, and causing the Brahmanas to utter auspicious words, and bowing down to the best of the regenerate ones, and to Siva, I set out on my car, unto which were yoked the horses, Saivya and Sugriva, filling all sides with the clatter, and blowing that best of conches, the Pankajanya, and accompanied by my adopted and victorious arm, consisting of the 4 kinds of the forces, so persevering in battle, I set out, and leaving many countries and mountains crowned with trees and pieces of water and streams, I at last arrived at the country of Martikavarta. It is there that I heard that Salva was coursing on his car of precious metals near the ocean, and I followed in his pursuit. And having reached the main, Salva on his car of costly metals was in the midst of the deep, having with billows, and on seeing me from a distance, that one of wicked soul himself challenged me repeatedly to the fight, and many arrows capable of piercing to the quick, discharged from my bow, reached not his car, and at this I was wroth, and that essentially sinful wretch of Daitya son of irrepressible energy on his part began to shoot thousands upon thousands of arrows in torrents, and he rained shafts upon my soldiers, and upon my chariot, and upon my steeds. Without thinking of the shafts, we continued the conflict. Then the warriors following Salva poured on me strength arrows by thousands, and the Asuras covered my horses and my car and Daruka with arrows capable of piercing the very vitals, and I could not at that time see either my horses or my car or my chariot Daruka, and I with my arm was covered with weapons, and superhumanly skilled in weapons. I let fly from my bow arrows by tens of thousands, inspiring them with mantras. As that car of costly metals was in the sky full 2 miles off, it could not be seen by my troops. They could, therefore, on remaining on the field of battle, look on like spectators in a place of amusement, cheering me on my shots, loud as the roar of the lion, and by the sound of their clapping, and the tinted arrows shot by the force part of hand penetrated into the bodies of the Danavas like beating insects. And then arose cries in the car of precious metals from those that were dying of the wounds inflicted by those sharp arrows, and falling into the waters of the mighty ocean, and the Danavas, deprived of their arms, necks, and wearing the form of Kavandihas, fell, sending up tremendous roars, and as they fell they were devoured by animals living in the waters of the ocean. And then a powerful blew the Pankajanya, obtained from the waters, and graceful as the lotus stalk, and white as milk, or the kunda flower, or the moon, or silver. And sending his soldiers far, Salva, the possessor of the car of precious metals, began to fight with the help of illusion, and then he began to ceaselessly hurl at me maces, and plowshares, and winged darts, and lances, and javelins, and battle axes, and swords, and arrows blazing like javelins, and thunderbolts, and nooses, and broadswords, and bullets from barrels, and shafts, and axes, and rockets, and permitting them to come towards me, I soon destroyed them all by counter-illusion, and on this illusion being rendered ineffectual, he began the contest with mountain peaks. And then there was darkness and light alternately, and the day was now fair, and now gloom, and now hot, and now cold, and there was a perfect shower of coals and ashes and weapons, and creating such illusion, the enemy fought with me, and ascertaining it, I destroyed his illusion by counter-illusion, and in the due time I showered arrows all round. And then the dome of heaven blazed as with 100 suns, and thousands and 10,000s of stars. And then none could ascertain whether it was day or night, or distinguish the points of the horizon. And becoming bewildered, I fixed on my bowstring the weapon called Pragnastra, and the weapon went like unto flakes of poor cotton blown away by the winds. And a great fight then took place, calculated to make the down on body stand on end, and having regained light, I again fought with the enemy. My great enemy, King Salva, thus encountered by me in battle, again ascended the sky, and, inspired with the desire of victory, that wicked one hurled at me satagines, and mighty maces, and flaming lances, and stout clubs, and swords. And as the weapons came along the sky, I speedily resisted them with my swift arrows, and cut them in 2 or 3 pieces before they came at me. And then there was a great noise in the welkin, and Salva covered Daruka, and my steeds, and my car, with hundreds and of stringed shafts. Then Daruka, evidently about to faint, said unto me, afflicted with the shafts of Salva, I stay in the field, because it is my duty to do. I am incapable of doing. My body hath become weak. Hearing these piteous words of my charioteer, I looked at him, and found the driver wounded with arrows, nor was there a spot on his breast, or the crown of his head, or his body, or his arms, which was not covered with shafts, and blood flowed profusely from his wounds inflicted by arrows, and he looked like unto a mountain of head chalk after a heavy shower. And seeing the charioteer with the reins in his hands, thus fixed and enfeebled by shafts of Salva in the field of battle, I cheered him up. And about this time a certain person, having his home in the baraka, quickly coming to my car, addressed me like a friend, delivering to me a message from Ahuka. He seemed to be one of Ahuka's followers, and sadly, and in a voice shocked in sorrow, no, he said these words, Ahuka, the lord of the baraka, hath said these words unto thee. Hear what thy father friend saith. In thy absence today, Salva, coming to the baraka, hath by main force killed Vasudeva. Therefore, no need of battle any more. Cease. Do thou defend the baraka. This is thy principal duty. Hearing these words of his, my heart became heavy, and I could not ascertain what I should do and what I should not. And hearing of that great misfortune, I mentally censured Satyaki and Valadeva, and that mighty warrior Pradyumna, having imposed on them the duty of protecting the baraka and Vasudeva. I had gone to effect the destruction of Salva's city, and in a sorrowful heart I asked myself, doth that destroyer of foes, the mighty armed Valadeva, live, and Satyaki, and the son of Hukimini, and Harudesna, possessed of prowess, and Sihamba, and others? For this living, even the bearer himself of the thunderbolt could by no means destroy Suta's son, and talked, it is plain that Vasudeva is dead, and equally plain that the others with Valadeva at their head have been deprived of life. This was my certain conclusion, and thinking of the destruction of those all, I was overwhelmed with grief, and it was in this state of mind that I encountered Salva afresh. And now I saw Vasudeva himself falling from the car of precious metals, and Masar seemed like unto Yayati after the loss of his merit, falling towards the earth from heaven, and like unto a luminary whose merit hath been lost, saw my father failing his headgear fall and flowing loosely, and his hair and dress disordered, and then the bow Sihargna dropped from my hand, and I sat down on the side of the car. And seeing me deprived of consciousness on the car, and as if dead, my entire host exclaimed, "Oh, and alas!" And my prone father, with outstretched arms and lower limbs, appeared like a dropping bird, and him thus failing, the hostile warriors, bearing in their hands lances and axes, struck grievously, and my heart trembled. And soon regaining my consciousness, I could not see in that might contest either the car of costly metals or the enemy Salva or my old father. Then I concluded in my mind that it was certainly illusion. And recovering my senses, I again began to discharge arrows by hundreds. Then, taking up my beautiful bow, I began to cut off with my arrows the heads of the enemies of the Celestials from off that car of costly metals. And I began to discharge from the Siharniga many well-looking arrows of the forms of snakes, capable of going at a great height and possessing intense energy. And I could not then see the car of costly metals, for it had vanished through illusion. I was then filled with wonder. That host of the Navas of frightful visage and hair set up a loud howl while I was waiting for it. In that fierce battle, I then, with the object of destroying them, fixed on my bowstring the weapon capable of piercing the foe. His sound was inaudible. Upon this, their shots ceased. Those Navas that had sent up that shot were all slain by those shafts of mine, blazing as the sun himself, and capable of striking at the perception of sound alone. And after the shot had ceased, at one place, another yell proceeded from another quarter. Thitherto I sent my shafts. In this way, the Azuras began to send up yells in all the 10 quarters above and across. These were all slain by me, those that were in disguise and that were invisible, with arrows of diverse forms and celestial weapons, inspired with mantras. Then that car of precious metals, capable of going anywhere at will, bewildering my eyes, he appeared at Pragigiotisha, and then the destroying the Navas of fierce forms suddenly drowned me with a mighty shower of hawks, and torrents of hawks falling upon me covered me up, and I began to grow like an ant-hill, and covered along with my horses and chariota and flagstaffs with crags on all sides. I disappeared from sight altogether. Then those foremost of heroes of the Vrishni haste, who were of my arm, were struck with panic, and on a sudden began to fly in all directions. And beholding me in that plight, the heaven, the firmament, and the earth were filled with exclamation. And then my friends, filled with sorrow and grief, began to weep and wail with heavy hearts. And delight filled the hearts of the enemies. And thou who never waverest, I heard of this after I had defeated the foe, and then yielding the thunderbolt, the favorite of Indra, capable of reaving stones, I destroyed that entire mass of crags. My steeds, afflicted with the weight of the stones, and almost on the point of death, began to tremble, and beholding me, all my friends rejoiced, again even as men rejoice on seeing the sunrise in the sky, dispersing the clouds, and seeing my horses, almost in their last gasp for breath, afflicted with that load of stones. My chariot said unto me in words suitably to the occasion, Behold Salva, the owner of the car of precious metals, sitting. Do not disregard him. Do thou exert thyself. Do thou abandon thy mildness and consideration for Salva. Slay Salva. Do not let him live. Thou destroyer of those that are not thy friends, an enemy should be slain with every exertion. Even a weak enemy who is under the feet of a man and with strength should not be disregarded by the latter. What of on that dareth us to the fight? Putting forth every exertion, slay him. Do thou not delay again. This one is not capable of being vanquished by milder mercenaries, and he cannot, in my opinion, be thy friend who is fighting thee and who devastated Divaraka. Hearing such words of my chariot, and knowing that what he said was true, I directed my attention to the fight, with the view of slaying Salva and destroying the car of costly metals, saying unto Daruka, Stay a moment. I fixed on my bowstring my favorite weapon of fire, blazing and of celestial origin, of irresistible force, and incapable of being baffled, bursting with energy, capable of penetrating into everything, and of great splendor, and saying, Destroy the car of precious metals together with all those enemies that are in it. I launched with the might of my arms, and in wrath with mantras, the great powerful discus Sudarsana, which reduceth to ashes in Betli, Yakishas, and Hakishasas, and the Navas, and kings born in poor tribes, sharp-edged like the hazel, and without stain, like unto Yama the destroyer, and incomparably, and which killeth enemies. And rising into the sky, it seemed like a second sun of exceeding effulgence at the end of the Yuga, and approaching the town of Saubiha, whose splendor had disappeared, the discus went right through it, even as I saw divideth a tall tree, and cut in twain by the energy of the Sudarsana. It fell like the seat of Tripura, shaken by the shafts of Mahesvara. And after the town of Saubiha had fallen, the discus came back into my hands, and taking it up, I once more hurled it with force, saying, Go thou unto Salva. The discus then cleft Salva in twain, who in that fierce conflict was at the point of hurling a heavy mass, and with its energy it set the foe ablaze. And after that brave warrior was slain, the disheartened the Navas woman fled in all directions, exclaiming, Oh, and alas! And taking my chariot in front of the town of Saubiha, I cheerfully blew my conch and gladdened the hearts of my friends, and beholding their town, high as the peak of the Meru, with its palaces and gateways, utterly destroyed, and all ablaze, the Danavas fled in fear, and having thus destroyed the town of Saubiha, and slay Salva, I returned to the Anartas, and delighted my friends. And it is for this reason that I could not come to the seat named after the elephant. If I had come, Suryodhana would not have been alive, or the match at dice would not have taken place. What can I do now? It is difficult to confine the waters after the dam is broken. Having addressed the Kaurava thus, that foremost of male persons of mighty arms, the slayer of Madhu, saluting the Pandavas, prepared for departure, and the might-armed hero reverentially saluted Yudhishthira the just, and the king in return, and Bhishma smelt the crown of his head. And he was embraced by Arjuna, and the twins saluted him with reverence, and he was duly honored by the Haumia, and worshipped with tears by Draupadi, and causing Subhadra and Abhimanyu to ascend his golden car. Krishna mounted it himself, worshipped by the Pandavas, and consoling Yudhishthira. Krishna set out for the Varaka on his car splendid as the sun, and unto which were yoked the horses Saivya and Sugriva. And after he of the Dasharha haste had departed, the Hristadyumna, the son of Prishata, set out for his own city, taking with him the sons of Draupadi, and the king of Khedi, the Hristaketu, taking his sister with him, set out for his beautiful seat of Sukitimati, after bidding farewell to the Pandavas, and the Kaikeyas, with the permission of Kunti's son, possessed of immeasurable energy, having reverentially saluted all the Pandavas, went away. The Brahmanas and the Vaisyas and the dwellers of Yudhishthira kingdom, talk repeatedly requested to go, did not leave the Pandavas. The multitude that surrounded those high-souled ones in the forest of Kamyaka looked extraordinary, and Yudhishthira, honoring those high-minded Brahmanas, in due time ordered his men, saying, "Make ready the car." After the chief of the Dasharhas had departed, the heroic Yudhishthira, and Bhima, and Arjuna, and the twins, each looking like unto Shiva and Krishna, and their priests, attending costly cars, unto which were yoked excellent steeds, together went into the forest. And at time of going they distributed niskas of gold and cloths and kind unto Brahmanas vested in Sikisha and Akishara and mantras, and 20 attendants followed them equipped with bows and bowstrings and blazing weapons and shafts and arrows and engines of destruction. And taking the prince's clothes and the ornaments and the nurses and the maidservants, Indrasena speedily followed the prince on a car. And then approaching the best of Kurus, the high-minded citizens walked round him, and the principal Brahmanas of Kurujangala cheerfully saluted him, and together with his brothers Yudhishthira, the just, on his part, saluted them cheerfully. And the illustrious king stopped there a little, beholding the concourse of the inhabitants of Kurujangala. And the illustrious bull among the Kurus felt for them as a father feeleth for his sons, and they too felt for the Kuru chief, even our sons feel for their father. And that mighty concourse, approaching the Kuru hero, stood around him, and affected with bashfulness, and with tears in their eyes, they all exclaimed, "Alas!" And they said, "Thou art the chief of the Kurus, and the king of us, thy subjects. Where dost thou go, leaving all these citizens and the inhabitants of the country, like a father leaving his sons? Fie on the cruel-hearted son of Dhritarashtra, fie on the evil-minded son of Suvala, fie on Karna, for those wretches ever wish such evil unto thee who art firm in virtue, having thyself established the unrivaled seat of Indraprastha, of the splendor of Kailasa itself. Where dost thou go, leaving it, leaving that peerless palace built by Maya, which possesseth the splendor of the palace of the celestial themselves, and is like unto a celestial illusion, ever guarded by the gods? Where dost thou go?" And Vivihatsu, knowing the ways of virtue, pleasure, and profit, said unto them in a loud voice, "Living in the forest, the king intendeth to take away the good name of his enemies. With the regenerate ones at your head, versed in virtue and profit, do you approaching the ascetics separately and inclining them to grace, represent unto them what may be for our supreme good, Upon hearing these words of Arjuna, the Brahmanas and the other orders, saluting him cheerfully, walked round that foremost of virtuous men, and bidding farewell unto the son of Pritha, and Vrikodara, and Dhananjaya, and Yajinaseni, and the twins, and commanded by Yudhishthira, they returned to their respective abodes in the kingdom with heavy hearts. After they had departed, Yudhishthira, the virtuous son of Kunti, unwavering in his promises, addressed all his brothers, saying, "We shall have to dwell in the solitary forest for these 12 years. Search, therefore, in this mighty forest for some spot abounding in birds and deer and flowers and fruits, beautiful to behold, and auspicious, and inhabited by virtuous persons, and where we may dwell pleasantly for all these years." Thus addressed by Yudhishthira, Dhananjaya replied unto the son of Dharma, after reverencing the illustrious king, as if he were his spiritual preceptor, and Arjuna said, "Thou hast respectfully waited upon all the great and old riches. There is nothing unknown to thee in the world of men. And thou hast always waited with reverence upon Brahmanas, including Dvaipayana and other, and Narada of great ascetic merit, who with senses under control ever goeth to the gates of all the world, from the world of the gods unto that of Brahma, including that of the Gandharvas and Apsaras, and thou knowest without doubt the opinions of the Brahmanas and their prowess. And thou knowest what is calculated to do us good, and we will live wherever thou likest. Here is this lake, full of sacred water, called Vana, abounding with flowers, and delightful to look at, and inhabited by many species of birds. If it pleaseth thee, here should we like to dwell these 12 years. Thinkest thou otherwise? Yudhishthira replied, "What thou hast said recommendeth itself to me. Let us go that sacred and celebrated and large lake called Vana." Then the virtuous son of Pandu, accompanied by numerous Brahmanas, all went to the sacred lake called Vana, and Yudhishthira was surrounded by numerous Brahmanas, some of whom sacrificed with fire, and some without it, and some of whom devoted to the study of the Vedas, lived upon alms or were of the class called Vanaprasthas. And the king was surrounded by hundreds of Mahatmas, crowned with ascetic success and of rigid vows, and those bulls of the Mahabharata race, the sons of Pandu, setting out with those numerous Brahmanas, entered the sacred and delightful woods of Dvaita. And the king saw that mighty forest covered on the close of summer with salas, and palms, and mangoes, and madhukas, and nipas, and Kadambas, and Sarjas, and Arjunas, and Karnikas, many of them covered with flowers, and flocks of peacocks, and datiuhas, and hakoras, and vahins, and kokillas, seated on the tops of the tallest trees of that forest, were pouring forth their mellifluous notes. And the king saw in that forest mighty herds of gigantic elephants, huge as the hills, with temporal juice trickling down in the season of wheat, accompanied by herds of she-elephants. And approaching the beautiful Bhogavati, the king saw many ascetics crowned with success in the habitations in that forest, and virtuous men of sanctified souls, clad in barks of trees, and wearing matted locks on their heads. And descending from their cars, the king, that foremost of virtuous men, with his brothers and followers, entered that forest like Indra of immeasurable energy, entering heaven. And crowds of Haranas and Siddhas, jealous of beholding the monarch devoted to truth, came towards him, and the dwellers of that forest stood surrounding that lion among kings possessed of great intelligence. and saluting all the Siddhas, and saluted by them in return, as a king or a god should be. That foremost of virtuous men entered the forest with joined hands, accompanied by all those foremost of regenerate ones, and the illustrious and virtuous king saluted in return by those virtuous ascetics that had approached him, sat down in their midst at the foot of a mighty tree decked with flowers like his father in days before. Bhima and the Dhananjaya and the twins and Krishna and their followers, all fatigued, leaving their vehicles, sat themselves down around that best of kings. And that mighty tree bent down with the weight of creepers, with those 5 illustrious bowmen who had come there for haste, sitting under it, looked like a mountain with huge elephants hasting on each side. Having fallen into distress, those princes thus obtained at last a pleasant habitation in that forest, and there in those woods, abounding with sala trees and washed by the Sarasvati, they who were like many Indras began to sport themselves. And the illustrious king, that bull of the Kuru race, set himself to please all the yatis and munis and the principal brahmanas in that forest, by offering of excellent fruits and roots. And their priest, the Halmiya, ended with great energy, like unto a father, to those princes, began to perform the sacrificial rites of East and Paitreya, for the Pandavas residing in that great forest. And there came as a guest unto the abode of the accomplished Pandavas living in the woods, after loss of their kingdom, the old Rish Markandeya, possessed of intense and abundant energy, and that bull of the Kuru race, the high-souled Yudhishthira, possessed of unrivaled strength and prowess, paid his homage unto that great Muni, reverenced by celestials and rishis of men, and possessed of the splendor of blazing fire. And that illustrious and all-knowing Muni of unrivaled energy, beholding Draupadi and Yudhishthira and Bhima and Arjuna in the midst of the ascetics, smiled, recollecting Rama in his mind. And Yudhishthira, the just, apparently grieved at this, asked him, saying, "All these ascetics are sore for seeing me here. Why is it that thou alone smilest, as if in glee, in the presence of these?" Markandeya replied, "Too, I am sorry, and do not smile in glee, nor do pride born of joy possess my heart. Beholding today thy calamity, I recollect Rama, the son of Dasahatiha, devoted to truth. Even that Rama, accompanied by Lakshmana, dwelt in the woods at the command of his father. I beheld him in days of old, hanging with his bow on the top of his Hiamukha hills. The illustrious Rama was like unto Indra, the lord of Yama himself, and the slayer of Namukhi. Yet that sinless one had to dwell in the forest at the command of his father, accepting it as his duty. The illustrious Rama was equal unto Sakra in prowess and invincibly in battle, and yet he had to range the forest, announcing all pleasures. Therefore should no one act unrighteously, saying, "I am might." Kings Nabhihaga and Vihagihatiha and others, having subjugated by truth this world bounded by the seas, obtained all the regions hereafter. Therefore should no one act unrighteously, saying, "I am might." The virtuous and truthful king of Kasi and Karuzha was called a mad dog for having renounced his territories and riches. Therefore should no one act unrighteously, saying, "I am might." The 7 righteous rishis, for having observed the ordinance prescribed by the Creator himself in the Vedas, blaze in the firmament. Therefore should no one act unrighteously, saying, "I am might." Beholding the mighty elephants, hug as a mountain, cliffs, and furnished with tusks, transgress not. the laws of the Creator. Therefore should no one act unrighteously, saying, Might is mine. And behold, all the creatures acting according to their species, as ordained by the Creator. Therefore should no one act unrighteously, saying, Might is mine. In truth, and virtue, and proper behavior, and modest, thou hast surpassed all creatures, and thy fame and energy are as bright as fire or the sun, firm in thy promises. Having passed in the woods thy painful exile, thou wilt again snatch from the Kauravas thy blazing prosperity with the help of thy own energy. Having spoken these words unto Yudhishthira in the midst of the ascetics with friends, the great Rishi, having saluted the Haumia and all the Pandavas, set out in a northerly direction. While the illustrious sons of Pandu continued to dwell in the Divaita woods, that great forest became filled with Brahmanas, and the lake within that forest, ever resounding with Vedic recitations, became sacred, like a second region of Brahma. And the sounds of the Yajus, the Hiks, the Samas, and other words uttered by the Brahmanas were exceedingly delightful to hear, and the Vedic recitations of the Brahmanas, mingling with the twang of bows of the sons of Pritha, produced a union of the Brahmana and Kshatriya customs that was highly beautiful. And on evening the Rishvaka of the Dalvia family addressed Yudhishthira, the son of Kunti, seated in the midst of the Rishis, saying, The Homer time is come of these Brahmanas devoted to ascetic austerities, the time when the fires have all been lit up. These are of rigid vows, protected by thee, are performing the rites of religion in this sacred region. The descendants of Vihirgu and Angiras, along with those of Vasista and Kasyapa, the illustrious sons of Agastya, the offspring of Atri, are of excellent vows. In fact, all the foremost Brahmanas of the whole world are now united with thee. Listen thyself with thy brothers to the words I speak to thee. As fire aided by the wind consumeth the forest, Brahma energy mingled with Kshatriya energy, and Kshatriya might mingled with Brahma power, might, when they gathered force, consume our enemies. He should never desire to be without Brahmanas, who wisheth to subdue these and other worlds for length of days. Indeed, our king slayeth his enemies, having obtained a Brahmana conversant with religion and worldly affairs, and freed from passion and folly. King Vali, cherishing his subjects, practiced those duties that lead to salvation, and knew not of any other means in this world than Brahmanas. It was for this that all the desire of Virochana's son, the Asura, were ever gratified, and his wealth was ever inexhaustible. Having obtained the whole earth through the aid of the Brahmanas, he met with destruction when he began to practice wrong on them. This earth, with her wealth, never adoreth long as her lord a Kshatriya, living without a Brahmana. The earth, however, girt by the sea, boweth unto him who is ruled by a Brahmana, and taught his duties by him. Like an elephant impatedly without his driver, a Kshatriya destitute of Brahmanas decreaseth in strength. The Brahmana sight is without compare, and the Kshatriya might is unparalleled. When these combine, the whole earth itself shall full yieldeth to such a combination. As fire, becoming mightier with the wind, consumeth straw and wood, kings with Brahmanas consume our foes. An intelligent Kshatriya, in order to gain what he hath not and increase what he hath, shall take counsel of Brahmanas. Therefore, for obtaining what thou hast not, and increasing what thou hast, and spending what thou hast on proper objects and persons, keep thou with thee a Brahmana of reputation, of knowledge, of the Vedas, of wisdom and experience. Thou hast ever highly regarded the Brahmanas. It is for this that thy fame is great and blazes in the three worlds. Then all those Brahmanas who were with Yudhishthira worshipped Vaka of the Dalvia race, and having heard him praise, Yudhishthira became highly pleased. And Divaipayana, and Narada, and Jamadagniya, and Pritihusravas, and Indradyumna, and Vihalak, and Kritakhetas, and Sahasrapat, and Karnas Havas, and Munja, and Ravanasva, and Kasyapa, and Harita, and Sitihulakarna, Agnivesiya, Saunaka, Kritavak, Suvak, Vrihadasva, Vibhavasu, Urdiharetas, Vrishamitra, Suhotra, Hotravahana. These and many other Brahmanas of his vows then adored Yudhishthira like rishis adoring Purandara in heaven. Exiled to the woods, the sons of Pritha with Krishna seated in the evening, conversed with one another, afflicted with sorrow and grief, and the handsome and well-informed Krishna, dear unto her lords and devoted to them, thus spake unto Yudhishthira. The sinful, cruel, and wicked-minded son of Dhritarashtra certainly feeleth no sorrow for us, when that evil-hearted wretch, having sent thee with myself into the woods, dressed in deer skins, feeleth no regret. The heart of that wretch of evil deeds must surely be made of steel, when he could at that time address thee, his virtuous else brother, in words so harsh, having brought thee who deservest to enjoy every happiness and never such woe, into such distress. That wicked-minded and sinful wretch joineth with his friends, when dressed in deer skin thou hast set out for the woods, on 4 persons, Duryodhana, Karna, the evil-minded Sakuni, and Dusasana, that bad and fierce brother of Duryodhana, did not shed tears. With the exception of these, all other Kurus, filled with sorrow, shed tears from their eyes, beholding these thy bed, and recollecting what thou hast before, a grief for thee who deservest not war, and hast been brought up in every luxury. Remembering that seat of ivory in thy court, decked with jewels, and beholding the seat of Kusa grass, grief consumeth me. I saw thee surrounded in thy court by kings. What peace can my heart know in not beholding thee such now? I beheld thy body, effulgent as the sun, decked with sandal past. Grief depriveth me of my senses, in beholding thee now besmeared with mud and dirt. I saw thee before, dressed in silken clothes of pure white. I now behold thee, dressed in rags. Formerly, poor food of every kind was carried from thy house on plates of gold for Brahmanas by thousands, and food of the best kind was formerly given by thee unto ascetics, both houseless and living in domesticity. Formerly living in thy mansion, thou hast ever filled with food of every kind, plates by thousands, and worshipped the Brahmanas, gratifying every wish of theirs. What peace can my heart know in not beholding all these now? And these thy brothers, endowed with youth and decked with earrings, were formerly fed by cooks with food of sweet flavors, and dressed with skill. I now behold them all, undeserving of war, living in the woods, and upon what the woods may yield. My heart knoweth no peace, thinking of this Bhigasena, living in sorrow in the woods, doth not thy anger blaze up, even thought it is time? Why doth not thy anger blaze up upon beholding the illustrious bhigamana, who ever performeth everything unaided, fallen into distress, talk deserving of every happiness? Why doth not thy anger blaze up on beholding that bhigma living in the woods, who was formerly surrounded with numerous vehicles and dressed in costly apparel? This exalted personage is ready to slay all the Kurus impatiently. He beareth, however, all this sorrow, only because he waiteth for the fulfillment of thy promise. This Arjuna, though possessed of 2 hands, is equal for the lightness of his hand in discharging shafts to Arjuna of 1,000 arms. He is even like unto Yama himself at the end of the Yuga. It was by the prowess of his weapons that all the kings of the earth were made to wait upon the Brahmanas at thy sacrifice. Beholding that Arjuna, the tiger among men, worshipped by both the celestials and the Danavas, so anxious, why dost thou not feel indignant? I grieve that thy wrath doth not blaze up at sight of that son of Pritha in exile, that prince who deserveth not such distress, and who hath been brought up in every luxury. Why doth not thy wrath blaze up at sight of that Arjuna in exile, who on a single car hath vanquished celestials and men and serpents? Why doth not thy wrath blaze up at sight of that Arjuna in exile, who, honored with offerings of cars and vehicles of various forms, and horses and elephants, forcibly took from the kings of the earth their treasuries, who is the chastiser of our foes, and who at own impetus can throw full 500 arrows? Why doth not thy wrath blaze up at sight of Nakula in exile, who, fair and ably bodied and young, is the foremost of all swordsmen? Why dost thou pardon the poor at sight of Madri-son, the handsome and brave Sahadeva in exile? Why doth not thy anger blaze up at sight of both Nakula and Sahadeva, over unhelmed with grief, talk undeserving of distress? Why dost thou pardon the poor at sight of myself in exile, who, born in the race of Drupada, and therefore the sister of the Hiristaliumna, I am the doctor-in-law of the illustrious Pandu, and the devoted wife of heroes? Truly, thou hast no anger, else why is it that thy mind is not moved at sight of thy brothers and myself? It is said that there is no Kshatriya in the world who is bereft of anger. And now behold in thee, however, a refutation of the proverb, that Kshatriya who discovereth not his energy when the opportunity cometh is ever disregarded by all creatures. Therefore thou shouldst not extend thy forgiveness to the foe. Indeed, with thy energy, without doubt, thou mayest slay them all. That Kshatriya who is not appeased when the time for forgiveness cometh, becometh unpopular with every creature, and meeteth with destruction both in this and the other world. On this subject, the ancient history of the conversation between Prahlada and Vali, the son of Virochana, is quoted as an example. One day Vali asked his grandfather Prahlada, the chief of the Asuras and the Danavas, possessed of great wisdom and well versed in the mysteries of the science of duty, saying, "Is forgiveness meritorious or might, and energy such? I am puzzled as regards this. Enlighten me who ask thee this. Thou conversant with all duties, tell me truly which of these is meritorious. I will strictly obey whatever thy command may be." Thus asked his wise grandfather conversant with every conclusion he applied upon the whole subject unto his grandson who had sought at his hands the resolution of his doubts. And Prahlada said, know these two truths with certainty, that might is not always meritorious, and forgiveness is not always meritorious. He that forgiveth always suffereth many evils. Servants and strangers and enemies always disregard him. No creature ever bendeth down unto him. Therefore it is that the learned applaud not a constant habit of forgiveness. The servants of an ever forgiving person always disregard him and contract numerous faults. These mean-minded men seek to deprive him of his wealth. Vil-souled servants appropriated to themselves his vehicles and clothes, and ornaments, and apparel, and beds, and seats, and food, and drink, and other articles of use. They do not, at the command of their master, give unto others the things they are directed to give, nor do they ever worship their master with that respect which is their master due. Disregard in this world is worse than death. Sons and servants and attendants and even strangers speak harsh words unto the man who always forgiveth. Persons disregarding the man of an ever forgiving temper, even desire his wife, and his wife becometh ready to act as she willeth. And servants that are ever fond of pleasure, if they do not receive even slight punishments from their master, contract all sorts of vices, and the wicked ever injure such a master. These and many other demerits attached to those that are ever forgiving. Listen now to the demerits of those that are never forgiving. The men of wrath, who, surrounded by darkness, always inflicteth, by help of his own energy, various kinds of punishment on persons, whether they deserve them or not, is necessarily separated from his friends, in consequence of that energy of his. Such a man is hated by both relatives and strangers. Such a man, because he insulteth others, suffereth loss of wealth, and heapeth disregard and sorrow, and hatred and confusion, and enemies. The man of wrath, in consequence of his ire, inflicteth punishments on men, and obtaineth harsh words. He is divested of his prosperity, soon and even of life, not to say of friends and relatives. He that putteth forth his might both upon his benefactor and his foe is an object of alarm to the world, like a snake that hath taken shelter in a house, to the inmates thereof. What prosperity can he have who is an object of alarm to the world? People always do him an injury when they find a hole. Therefore should men never exhibit might in excess, nor forgiveness on all occasions. One should put forth his might and show his forgiveness on proper occasions. He that becometh forgiving at the proper time, and harsh in might at the proper time, obtaineth happiness both in this world and the other. I shall now indicate the occasions in detail of forgiveness, as laid down by the learned, and which should ever be observed by all. Hearken unto me as I speak. He that hath done thee a service, even if he is guilty of a grave wrong unto thee, recollecting his former service, shouldst thou forgive that offender. Those that have become offender from ignorance and folly should be forgiven, for learning and wisdom are not always easily attainable by men. They that having offended thee knowingly plead ignorance should be punished, even if their offences be trivial. Such crooked men should never be pardoned. The first offense of every creature should be forgiven. The second offense, however, should be punished, even if it be trivial. If, however, a person committeth an offense unwillingly, it hath been said that, examining his player with a judicious inquiry, he should be pardoned. Humility may vanquish might. Humility may vanquish weakness. There is nothing that humility may not accomplish. Therefore, humility is truly fierce. One should act with reference to place and time, taking note of his own might or weakness. Nothing can succeed that hath been undertaken without reference to place and time. Therefore, do thou ever wait for place and time. Sometimes offenders should be forgiven from fear of the people. These have been declared to be times of forgiveness, and it hath been said that, on occasions besides these, might should be put forth against transgressors. Therefore, God, that the time hath come for thee to put forth thy might unto those Kurus, the covetous sons of Dhritarashtra, who injure us always. The present is not the time for forgiveness. It behoveth thee to put forth thy might. The humble and forgiving person is disregarded, while those that are fixed persecute others. He, indeed, is a king who hath recourse to both, each according to its time. Yudhishthira said, Anger is the slayer of men, and is again their prosperer. Know this, that anger is the root of our prosperity and our adversity. He that suppresseth his anger earneth prosperity. That man, again, who always giveth way to anger, heapeth adversity from his fierce anger. It is seen in this world that anger is the cause of destruction of every creature. How then can one like me induce his anger, which is so destructive of the world? The angry man committeth sin. The angry man killeth even his preceptors. The angry man insulteth even his superiors in harsh words. The man that is angry faileth to distinguish between what should be said and what should not. There is no act that an angry man may not do, no word that an angry man may not utter. From anger a man may slay on that deserveth not to be slain, and may worship on that deserveth to be slain. The angry man may even send his own soul to the regions of Yama, beholding all these faults, the wise control their anger, desirous of obtaining high prosperity both in this and the other world. It is for this that they of tranquil souls have banished wrath. How can one like us induce in it then? Reflecting upon all this, my anger is not excited. On that acteth not against a man whose wrath hath been up, rescueth himself, as also others from great fear. In fact, he may be regarded to be the physician of the two. If a weak man, persecuted by others, foolishly becometh angry towards men that are mightier than he then becometh himself the cause of his own destruction. And in respect of one who thus deliberately throweth away his life, there are no regions hereafter to gain. Therefore it hath been said that a weak man should always suppress his wrath, and the wise man who talk persecuted suffereth not his wrath to be housed, joyeth in the other world, having passed his persecutor over in indifference. It is for this reason hath it been said that a wise man, whether strong or weak, should ever forgive his persecutor, even when the latter is the strait. It is for this that the virtues applaud them that have conquered their wrath. Indeed, it is the opinion of the virtues that the honest and forgiving man is ever victorious. Truth is more beneficial than untruth, and gentleness than cruel behavior. How can unlike me, therefore, even for the purpose of slaying Duryodhana, exhibit anger which have so many faults and which the virtues vanish from their souls? They that are regarded by the learned of foresight as possessed of force of character are certainly those who are wrathful in outwards show only. Men of learning and of true insight call him to be possessed of force of character, who by his wisdom can suppress his rising wrath. The angry man seeth not things in their true light. The man that is angry seeth not his way, nor respecteth persons. The angry man killeth even those that deserve not to be killed. The man of wrath slayeth even his preceptors. Therefore, the man possessing force of character should ever banish wrath to a distance. The man that is overwhelmed with wrath acquireth not with ease generosity, dignity, courage, skill, and other attributes belonging to real force of character. A man by forsaking anger can exhibit proper energy, whereas it is highly difficult for the angry man to exhibit his energy at the proper time. The ignorant always regard anger as equivalent to energy. Wrath, however, have been given to men for the destruction of the world. The men, therefore, who wisheth to behave properly must ever forsake anger, even one who hath abandoned the excellent virtues of his own order. It is certain never indulgeth in wrath. If fools of minds without light transgress in every respect, how can one like me transgress? If amongst men there were not persons equal unto the earth in forgiveness, there would be no peace among men, but continued strife, caused by wrath. If the injured return their injuries, if one chastised by his superiors were to chastise his superior in return, the consequence would be the destruction of every creature, and sin would prevail in the world. If the man who hath ill species from another returneth those species afterwards, if the injured man returneth his injuries, if the chastised person chastiseth in return, if fathers slay sons, and sons fathers, and if husbands slay wives, and wives husbands, then how can both take place in a world where anger prevaileth? For know that the birth of creatures endue to peace. If the kings giveth away to wrath, his subjects soon meet with destruction. Wrath, therefore, hath for its consequence the destruction and the distress of the people, and because it is seen that there are in the world men who are forgiven like the earth, it is, therefore, that creatures derive their life and enjoy prosperity. One should forgive under every injury. It hath been said that the continuation of species is due to man being forgiving. He, indeed, is a wise and excellent person who hath conquered his wrath and who showeth forgiveness even when insulted, oppressed, and angered by a strong person. The man of power who controlleth his wrath hath numerous everlasting regions, while he that is angry is called foolish, and meeteth with destruction, both in this and the other world. The illustrious and forgiving Kashyapa hath, in this respect, sung the following verses in honor of men that are ever forgiving. Forgiveness is virtue, forgiveness is sacrifice, forgiveness is the Vedas, forgiveness is the Srut. He that knoweth this is capable of forgiving everything. Forgiveness is Brahma, forgiveness is truth, forgiveness is stored ascetic merit, forgiveness protecteth the ascetic merit of the future, forgiveness is asceticism, forgiveness is holiness, and by forgiveness is it that the universe is held together. Persons that are forgiving attain to the regions obtainable by those that have performed meritorious sacrifices, or those that are well conversant with the Vedas, those that have high ascetic merit, those that perform Vedic sacrifices, those that perform the meritorious rites of religion obtain other regions. Men of forgiveness, however, obtain those much adored regions that are in the world of Brahma. Forgiveness is the might of the might. Forgiveness is sacrifice. Forgiveness is quiet of mind. How can one like us abandon forgiveness, which is such, and in which are established Brahma, and truth, and wisdom, and the words? The man of wisdom should ever forgive, for when he is capable of forgiving everything, he attaineth to Brahma. The world belongeth to those that are forgiving. The other world is theirs. The forgiving acquire honors here in a state of blessedness hereafter. Those men that ever conquer their wrath by forgiveness obtain the higher regions. Therefore hath it been said that forgiveness is the highest virtue. These are the verses sung by Kasyapa in respect of those that are ever forgiving. Having listened to these verses in respect of forgiveness, content thyself, give not way to thy wrath. Of Grandsire, the son of Santanu, we worship peace. Krishna, the son of Devaki, we worship peace. The preceptor and Vidura, called Kishatri, will both speak of peace. Kripa and Sanjaya will preach peace. And Somadatta and Yuyutsu, and Drona, and of Grandsire Vyasa, every one of them speaketh always of peace, ever urged by these towards peace. The king will, I think, return us our kingdom. If, however, he yieldeth to temptation, he will meet with destruction. A crisis hath come in the history of Viharatas for plunging them into calamity. This hath been my certain conclusion from some time before. Suyoddhana deserveth not the kingdom. Therefore hath he been unable to acquire forgiveness. I, however, deserve the sovereignty, and therefore is it that forgiveness hath taken possession of me. Forgiveness and gentleness are the qualities of the self-possessed. They represent eternal virtue. I shall, therefore, truly adopt those qualities. Draupadi said, I bow down unto Dhatri and Vidhatri, who have thus clouded thy sense. Regarding the burden, thou thinkest differently from the ways of thy fathers and grandfathers. Influenced by acts, men are placed in different situations of life. Acts, therefore, produce consequences that are inevitable. Emancipation is desired from mere folly. It seemeth that men can never attain prosperity in this world by virtue, gentleness, forgiveness, straightforwardness, and fear of censure. If these were not, this insufferable calamity would never have overtaken thee who art undeserving of it, and these thy brothers of great energy, neither in those days of prosperity nor in these days of thy adversity, thou have ever known anything dear to thee as virtue, which thou hast even regarded as dearer to thee than life, that thy kingdom is for virtue alone, that thy life is for virtue alone, is known to Brahmanas and thy superiors, and even the celestials. I think thou canst abandon Bhimasena and Arjuna and these twin sons of Mother, along with myself. Thou canst not abandon virtue. I have heard that the king protecteth virtue, and virtue protected by him, protecteth him. I see, however, that virtue protecteth thee not, like the shadow pursuing a man. Thy heart, with singleness of purpose, ever seeketh virtue. Thou hast never disregarded thy equals and inferiors and superiors, obtaining even the entire world. Thy pride never increased. Thou ever worshippest Brahmanas and gods and Pirtris with Sivahas and Sivadihas and other forms of worship. Thou hast ever gratified the Brahmanas by fulfilling every wish of theirs. Yatis and sannyasins and mendicants of domestic life have always been fed in thy house from off plates of gold, where I have distributed amongst them. Unto the Vana prastihas thou always givest gold and food. There is nothing in thy house thou mayest not give unto the Brahmanas. There is nothing in thy house thou mayest not give unto Brahmanas in the Visvadeva sacrifice, that is, for thy peace, performed in thy house. The things consecrated are first offered unto guests and all creatures, while thou livest thyself with what remaineth. Istis, Pashubandihas, sacrifices for obtaining fruition of desires, the religion's rites of domesticity, Paka sacrifices, and sacrifices of other kinds are ever performed in thy house. Even in this great forest, solitary and haunted by robbers, living in exile, divested of thy kingdom, thy victory hath sustained no diminution. The Asvamedha, the Rajasuya, the Pundarika, and Gosava, these grand sacrifices requiring large gifts have all been performed by thee, impelled by perverse sense during that dear hour of losing much at dice. Thou didst yet stake and lose thy kingdom, thy wealth, thy weapons, thy brothers, and myself. Simple, gently, liberal, modest, truthful, how could thy mind be attracted to this of gambling? I am almost deprived of my sense, and my heart is overwhelmed with grief, beholding this thy distress and this thy calamity. An old history is cited as an illustration for the truth that men are subjects to the will of God and never to their own wishes. The Supreme Lord and Ordainer of all ordaineth everything in respect of the well and woe, the happiness and misery of all creatures, even prior to their births, guided by the acts of each, which are even like a seed. As a wooden doll is made to move its limbs by the wheel puller, our creature is made to walk by the Lord of all. Like a space that covereth every object, God, pervading every creature, ordaineth its well or woe, like a bird tied with a string. Every creature is dependent on God. Everyone is subject to God and none else. No one can be his own ordainer, like a pearl on its string, or a bull held fast by the cord, passing through its nose, or a tree fallen from the bank into the middle of the stream. Every creature followeth the command of the Creator, because imbued with his spirit and because established in him. And man himself, dependent on the universal soul, cannot pass a moment independently. Enveloped in darkness, creatures are not masters of their own will or woe. They go to heaven or hell, urged by God himself, like straws, dependent on strong winds. All creatures are dependent on God. And God himself, pervading all creatures and engaged in acts right and wrong, moveth in the universe. Though none can say, this is God. This body with its physical attributes, its own the means by which God, the Supreme Lord of all, maketh to reap fruits that are good or bad. Behold the power of illusion that hath been spread by God, who, confounding with his illusion, maketh creatures slay their fellows. Truth-knowing Munis behold those differently. They appear to them in a different light, even like the rays of the sun. Ordinary men behold the things of the earth otherwise. It is God who maketh them all, adopting different process in their creation and destruction. And the self-create grandsire, Almighty God, spreading illusion, slayeth his creatures by the instrumentality of his creatures. As one may break a piece of inert and senseless wood with wood, or stone with stone, or iron with iron. And the Supreme Lord, according to his pleasure, sporteth with his creatures, creating and destroying them like a child with his toy. It doth seem to me that God behaveth towards his creatures like a father or mother unto them, like a vicious person. He seemeth to bear himself towards them in anger, beholding superior and well-behaved and modest persons persecuted, while the sinful are happy. I am sorely troubled, beholding this thy distress and the prosperity of Suyodhana. I do not speak highly of the great Ordena, who suffereth such inequality. What fruits doth the great Ordena reap by granting prosperity to the Dhritarashtra son, who transgresseth the ordinance, who is crooked and covetous, and who injureth virtue and religion? If the act done pursueth the deed and none else, then certainly it is God himself who is stained with the sin of every act. If, however, the sin of an act done doth not attach to the deed, then might is the true cause of acts, and a grief for those that have no might. Yudhishthira said, "This speech is delightful, smooth, and full of excellent phrases. We have listened to it. Thou speakest, however, the language of atheism. I never act solicitous of the fruits of my actions. I give away because it is my duty to give. I sacrifice because it is my duty to sacrifice. I accomplish to the best of my power whatever a person living in the masjid should do, regardless of the fact whether those acts have fruits or not. I act virtuously, not from the desire of reaping the fruits of virtue, of not transgressing the ordinances of the Veda, and beholding the conduct of the good and wise. My heart is naturally attracted towards virtue. The man who wisheth to reap the fruits of virtue is a trader in virtue. His nature is mean, and he should never be counted amongst the virtuous. Nor doth he ever obtain the fruits of his virtues, nor doth he of sinful heart, who, having accomplished a virtuous act, doubteth in his mind, obtain the fruits of his act, in consequence of that scepticism of his. I speak unto thee under the authority of the Vedas, which constitute the highest proof in such matters, that never shouldst thou doubt virtue. The man that doubteth virtue is destined to take his birth in the brute species. The man of weak understanding who doubteth religion, virtue, or the words of the riches, is precluded from regions of immortality and bliss, like Sudras from the Vedas. If a child born of a good race studieth the Vedas and beareth himself virtuously, royal sages of virtuous behavior regard him as an aged sage. The sinful wretch, however, who doubteth religion and transgresseth the scriptures, is regarded as lower even than Sudras and robbers. Thou hast seen with thy own eyes the great ascetic Markandeya, of immeasurably soul, come to us. It is by virtue alone that he hath acquired immortality in the flesh. Vyasa and Vasistha and Maitreya and Narada and Lomasa and Sukha and other rishis have all by virtue alone become of poor souls. Thou beholdest them with thy own eyes, are furnished with powers of celestial asceticism, competent to curse or bless, and superior to thy very gods. These are equal to the celestials themselves, behold with their eyes what is written in the Vedas, and describe virtue as the foremost duty. It behoveth thee not, therefore, to aid a doubt or censure God, or act with a foolish heart. The fool that doubteth religion and disregardeth virtue, proud of the proof derived from his own reasoning, regardeth not others' proofs, and holdeth the riches, who are capable of knowing the future, as present, as madmen. The fool regardeth on the external world, capable of gratifying his senses, and is blind to everything else. He that doubteth religion hath no expiation for his offence. That miserable wretch is full of anxiety, and acquireth not regions of bliss hereafter. A rejecter of proofs, a slanderer of the interpretation of the Vedic scriptures, a transgressor urged by lust and covetousness, that fool goeth to hell. He, on the other hand, whoever cherisheth religion with faith, obtaineth eternal bliss in the other world. The fool who cherisheth not religion, transgressing the proofs offered by the riches, never obtaineth prosperity in any life. For such transgression of the scriptures, it is certain that with respect to him who regardeth not the words of the riches, or the conduct of the virtues as proof, neither this nor the other world existeth. Doubt not the ancient religion that is practised by the good and framed by riches of universal knowledge and capable of seeing all things. Religion is the only haft for those desirous of going to heaven, like a ship to merchants desirous of crossing the ocean. If the virtues that are practised by the virtues had no fruits, this universe then would be enveloped in infamous darkness. No one then would pursue salvation. No one would seek to acquire knowledge, not even wealth. Men would live like beasts. If asceticism, the austerities of celebrate life, sacrifices, stood of the Vedas, charity, honesty, these are fruitless, men would not have practised virtue generation after generation. If acts were all fruitless, a dear confusion would ensue. For what then do riches and gods, and Gandharvas, and Rakshasas, who are all independent of human conditions, cherish virtue with such affection, knowing it for certain that God is the giver of fruits in respect of virtue? They practice virtue in this world. This is the eternal prosperity. When the fruits of both knowledge and asceticism are seen, virtue and vice cannot be fruitless. Call to thy mind the circumstances of thy own birth, as thou hast heard of them, and recall the manner in which the Arjuna of great prowess was born. These are the best proofs. They that have their minds under control reap the fruits of their acts and are content with little. Ignorant fools are not content with even that much they get, because they have no happiness born of virtue to acquire in the world hereafter. The fruitlessness of virtuous acts ordained in the Vedas, as also of all transgressions, the origin and destruction of acts are mysteries to even the gods. These are not known to anybody and everybody. Ordinary men are ignorant in respect of this. The gods keep up the mystery, for the illusion covering the conduct of the gods is unintelligible. Those regenerate ones that have destroyed all aspirations, that have built all their hopes on vows and asceticism, that have burnt out their sins and have acquired minds where quiet and peace and holiness dwell, understand all this. Therefore, though you mayest not see the fruits of virtue, thou shouldst not yet doubt religion or the gods. Thou must perform sacrifice with a will, and practice charity without insolence. Acts in this world have their fruits, and virtue is eternal. Brahma himself told this unto his sons, as testified to Bhakasyapa. Let thy doubt, therefore, be dispelled like mist. Reflecting upon all this, let thy skepticism give way to faith. Slander not God, who is the Lord of all creatures. Learn how to know him. Bow down unto him. Let not thy mind be such, and never disregard that supreme being through whose grace mortal men be piety, achieve immortality. I do not ever disregard or slander religion. Why should I disregard God, the Lord of all creatures? Afflicted with war, know me. I will once more indulge in lamentations. Listen to me with attention. Every conscious creature should certainly act in this world. It is only the immobile and not other creatures that may live without acting. The calf, immediately after its birth, sucketh the mother teat. Persons feel pain in consequence of incantations performed with their statues. It seemeth, therefore, that creatures derive the character of their lives from their acts of former lives. Amongst mobile creatures, man differeth in this respect, that he aspireth to affect his course of life in this and the other world by means of his acts. Impelled by the inspiration of a former life, all creatures visibly in this world the fruits of their acts. Indeed, all creatures live according to the inspiration of a former life. Even the Creator of the ordainer of the universe, like a crane that liveth on the water. If a creature acteth not, its course of life is impossible. In the case of a creature, therefore, there must be action and not inaction. Thou shouldst act and not incur censure by abandoning action. Cover thyself up as with an armor with action. There may or may not be even one in 1,000 who truly knoweth the utility of acts or work. One must act for protecting as also increasing his wealth, for if without seeking to earn, one continueth to spend his wealth, even if it were a hard hug as Himavat, would soon be exhausted. All the creatures in the world would have been exterminated, if there were no action, if acts bore no fruits. Creatures would never multiply. It is even seen that creatures sometimes perform acts that have no fruit, for without acts the course of life itself would be impossible. Those persons in the world who believe in destiny, and those again who believe in chance, are both the worst among men. Those only that believe in the efficacy of acts are laudable. He that lieth at ease, without activity, believing in destiny alone, is soon destroyed like an unburnt earthen pot in water. He that believeth in chance, sitteth inactive, talk capable of activity, liveth not long, for his life is one of weakness and helplessness. If any person accidentally acquireth any wealth, it is said he deriveth it from chance, for no one effort hath brought about the result. And whatever of good fortune a person obtaineth in consequence of religion's rites, that is called providential. The fruit, however, that a person obtaineth by acting himself, and which is the direct result of those acts of his, is regarded as proof of personal ability. And know that the wealth one obtaineth spontaneously and without cause is said to be a spontaneous acquisition. Whatever is thus obtained by chance, by providential dispensation, spontaneously or as the result of own acts, is, however, the consequence of the acts of a former life. And God, the ordainer of the universe, judging according to the acts of former lives, distributeth among men their portions in this world. Whatever acts, good or bad, a person performeth, know that they are the result of God's arrangement, agreeably to the acts of a former life. This body is only the instrument in the hands of God, for doing the acts that are done, itself inert, it doth, as God urgeth it to do. It is the supreme Lord of all who maketh all creatures do what they do. The creatures themselves are inert. Man, having first settled some purpose in his mind, accomplisheth it, himself working with the aid of his intelligence. We, therefore, say that man is himself the cause. It is impossible to number the acts of men, for mansions and towns are the result of men's acts. Intelligent men know, by help of their intellect, that oil may be had from sesame, cows from milk, and that food may be cooked by means of igniting fuel. They know the means for accomplishing all this, and knowing them, they afterwards set themselves with proper appliances to accomplish them, and creatures support their lives by the results achieved in these directions by their own acts. If a work is executed by skilled workmen, it is executed well. From difference, another work may be said to be that of an unskillful hand. If a person were not, in the matter of his acts, himself the cause thereof, then sacrifices would not bear any fruit. In his case, nor would anybody be a disciple or a master. It is because a person is himself the cause of his work that he is applauded when he achieveth success. The doer is censured if he faileth. If a man were not himself the cause of his acts, how would all this be justified? Some say that everything is a result of providential dispensation. Others again, that is not. That everything which is supposed to be the result of destiny or chance is the result of the good or the bad acts of former lives. It is seen that possessions are obtained from chance, from destiny, something being from destiny and something from chance. Something is obtained by exertion. In the acquisition of his objects, there is no fourth cause in the case of men. Thus say those that are acquainted with truth and skilled in knowledge. If, however, God himself were not the giver of good and bad fruits, then amongst creatures there would not be any that was miserable. If the effect of former acts be a myth, then our purpose for which men would work should be successful. They, therefore, that regard the tree alone as the doors of all success and failure in the world, are dull and inert like the body itself. For all this, however, a person should act. This is the conclusion of Manu himself. The person that doth not act certainly succumbeth. The man of action in this world generally meeteth with success. The idly, however, never achieveth success. If success becometh impossible, then should one seek to remove the difficulties that bar his way to success. And if a person worketh, his debt is cancelled. The person that is idly and lieth at his length is overcome by adversity, while he that is active and skillful is sure to reap success and enjoy prosperity. Intelligent persons engaged in acts with confidence in themselves regard all who are diffident as doubting and unsuccessful. The confident and faithful, however, are regarded by them as successful. And this moment misery hath overtaken us. If, however, thou betakest to action, that misery will certainly be removed. If thou meetest failure, then that will furnish a proof unto thee and Brikodara and Vivatsu and the twins. The acts of others, it is seen, are crowned with success. It is probably that ours will be successful. How can one know beforehand what the consequence will be? Having exerted thyself, thou wilt know what the fruit of thy exertion will be. The tiller tilleth with the plough the soil, and soweth the seeds thereon. He then sitteth silent, for the clouds are the cows that won't help the seeds to grow into plants. If, however, the clouds favor him not, the tiller is absolved from all blame. He saith unto himself, what others do, I have done. If, notwithstanding this, I meet with failure, no blame can attach to me. Thinking, he containeth himself, and never indulgeth in self-reproach. No one should despair, saying, I am acting, yet success is not mine. For there are two other causes besides exertion towards success. Whether there be success or failure, there should be no despair, for success in acts dependeth upon the union of many circumstances. If one important element is waiting, success doth not become commensurate, or doth not come at all. If, however, no exertion is made, there can be no success, nor is there anything to applaud in the absence of all exertion. The intelligent, aided by their intelligence, and according to their full might, bring place, time, means, auspicious reach for the acquisition of prosperity. With carefulness and vigilance should not set himself to work, his chief guide being his prowess. In the union of qualities necessary for success in work, prowess seemeth to be the chief. When the man of intelligence seeth his enemy superior to him in many qualities, he should seek the accomplishment of his purpose by means of the arts of conciliation and proper appliances. He should wish evil unto his foe and his banishment, without speaking of mortal men. If his foe were even the ocean or the hills, he should be guided by such motives. A person by his activity in searching for the halls of his enemies dischargeth his debt to himself as also to his friends. No man should ever disparage himself, for the man that disparageth himself never earneth high prosperity. Success in this world is attainable on such conditions. In fact, success in the world is said to depend on acting according to time and circumstances. My father formerly kept a learned Brahmana with him. He said all this unto my father. Indeed, these instructions as to duty, uttered by Brihaspati himself, were first taught to my brothers. It was from them that I heard those afterwards while in my father's house, and while at intervals of business I went out, and sat on the lap of my father. That learned Brahmana used to recite unto me this truth, sweetly consoling me therewith. Hearing these words of Yajnaseni, Bhimasena, sighing in wrath, approached the king and addressed him, saying, Walk in the customary path trodden by good men, in respect of kingdoms. What do we gain by living in the asylum of ascetics, thus deprived of virtue, pleasure, and profit? It is not by virtue, nor by honest, nor by might, but by unfair dice, that our kingdom have been snatched by Duryodhana, like a weak offal-eating jackal snatching the prey from mighty lions. He hath snatched away our kingdom. Why, in obedience to the treatment of sticking to a promise, dost thou suffer such distress, abandoning that wealth which is the source of both virtue and enjoyment? It was for thy carelessness that our kingdom, protected by the wielder of the Gandiva, and therefore incapable of being wrested by Indra himself, was snatched from us in our very sight. It was for thee that ourselves living our prosperity was snatched away from us like a fruit from one unable to use his arms, or like Cain from one incapable of using his legs. Thou art faithful in the acquisition of virtue. It was to please thee that we have suffered ourselves to be overwhelmed with such dear calamity. It was because we were subject to thy control that we are thus stirring the hearts of our friends and gratifying our foes, that we did not, in obedience to thee, even then slay the sons of Dhritarashtra, is an act of folly on our part that grieveth me sorely. This thy abode in the woods, like that of an wild animal, is what a man of weakness alone won't submit to. Surely no man of might won't ever lead such a life. This thy course of life is approved neither by Krishna, nor Vibhihatsu, nor by Abhimanyu, nor by the Srinjayas, nor by myself, nor by the sons of Madi. Afflicted with the vows, thy cry is religion. Hast thou from despair been deprived of thy manliness, cowards alone, unable to win back their prosperity, cherish despair which is fruitless and destructive of own purposes? Thou hast ability and eyes. Thou seest that manliness dwelleth in us. It is because thou hast adopted a life of peace that thou feelest not this distress. These Dhritarashtras regard us who are forgiving as real incompetent. This grieveth me more than death in battle. If we all die in fair fight without turning our backs on the foe, even that wound better than this exile, for then we should obtain regions of bliss in the other world. If, having slain them all, we acquire the entire earth, that would be prosperity worthy the trial. We who ever adhere here to the customs of our order, who ever desire grand achievements, who wish to avenge our wrongs, have this for our bounden duty. Our kingdom wrested from us, if we engage in battle, or these, when known to the world, will procure for us fame and not slander. And that virtue which tortureth on oneself and friends is really no virtue. It is rather vice, producing calamities. Virtue is sometimes the weakness of men, and through such a man might ever be engaged in the practice of virtue, yet both virtue and profit forsake him, like pleasure and pain, forsaking a person that is dead. He that practiseth virtue for virtue sake always suffereth. He can scarcely be called a wise man, for he knoweth not the purpose of virtue, like a blind man incapable of perceiving the solar light. He that regardeth his wealth to exist for himself alone scarcely understandeth the purpose of wealth. He is real like a servant that tendeth kine in a forest. He again that pursueth wealth too much without pursuing virtue and enjoyments deserveth to be censured and slain by all men. He that ever pursueth enjoyments without pursuing virtue and wealth loseth his friends and virtue and wealth. Destitute of virtue and wealth, such a man indulging in pleasure at will, at the expiration of his period of indulgence, meeteth with certain death, like a fish when the water in which it liveth hath been dried up. It is for these reasons that they that are wise are ever careful of both virtue and wealth, for a union of virtue and wealth is the essential requisite of pleasure, as fuel is the essential requisite of fire. Pleasure hath always virtue for its root, and virtue is united with pleasure. Know that both are dependent on each other like the ocean and the clouds, the ocean causing the clouds, and the clouds filling the ocean. The joy that one feeleth in consequence of contact with objects of touch, or of possession of wealth, is what is called pleasure. It existeth in the mind, having no corporeal existence that one can see. He that wisheth wealth seeketh for a large share of virtue to crown his wishes with success. He that wisheth for pleasure seeketh wealth. Pleasure, however, yieldeth nothing in its turn. One pleasure cannot lead to another, being its own fruit, as ashes may be had from wood, nothing from those ashes in their turn. And as a fuller killeth the birds we see, do things slay the creatures of the world. He, therefore, who, misled by pleasure or covetousness, beholdeth not the nature of virtue, deserveth to be slain by all, and becometh wretched both here and hereafter. It is evident that thou knowest that pleasure may be derived from the possession of various objects of enjoyment. Thou well knowest their ordinary states, as well as the great changes they undergo. At their loss or disappearance, occasioned by decrepitude or death, ariseth what is called distress. That distress hath now overtaken us. The joy that ariseth from the five senses, the intellect and the heart, being directed to the objects proper to each, is called pleasure. That pleasure is, I think, one of the best fruits of our actions. Thus, one should regard virtue, wealth, and pleasure one after another. One should not devote oneself to virtue alone, nor regard wealth as the highest object of one's wishes, nor pleasure should ever pursue all three. The scripture ordained that one should seek virtue in the morning, wealth at the noon, and pleasure in the evening. The scriptures ordained that one should seek pleasure in the first portion of life, wealth in the second, and virtue in the last. And they that are wise and full conversant with proper division of time pursue all three, virtue, wealth, and pleasure, dividing their time duly. Whether independence of these or their possession is the better for those that desire happiness should be settled by thee after careful thought, and thou shouldst then unhesitatingly act either for acquiring them or abandoning them all. For he who liveth wavering between the two doubtings leadeth a wretched life. It is well known that thy behavior is ever regulated by virtue. Knowing these, thy friends counsel thee to act. Gift, sacrifice, respect for the wise, study of the Vedas, and honest, these constitute the highest virtue and are efficacious both here and hereafter. These virtues, however, cannot be attained by one that hath no wealth, even if he may have infinite other accomplishments. The whole universe dependeth upon virtue. There is nothing higher than virtue, and virtue is attainable by one that hath plenty of wealth. Wealth cannot be earned by leading a mendicant life, nor by a life of feebleness. Wealth, however, can be earned by intelligence directed by virtue. In thy case, begging, which is successful with Brahmanas, hath been forbidden. Therefore, strive for the acquisition of wealth by exerting thy might and energy. Neither mendicance nor the life of a Sudra is what is proper for thee. Might and energy constitute the virtue of the Kshatriya in special. Adopt thou the virtue of thy order and slay thy enemies. destroy the might of the Dhritarashtra sons. With Ma and Arjuna aided, they that are learned and wise say that sovereignty is virtue, acquire sovereignty, therefore, for it behoveth thee not to live in a state of inferiority. Awake and understand the eternal virtues. By birth thou belongest to an order whose deeds are cruel and are a source of pain to men. Cherish thy subjects and reap the fruit thereof. That can never be a reproach. Even this is the virtue ordained by God himself for the order to which thou belongest. If thou fallest away therefrom, thou wilt make thyself ridiculous. Deviation from the virtues of own order is never applauded. Therefore, making thy heart what it ought to be, agreeably to the order to which thou belongest, in casting away this course of feebleness, summon thy energy and hear thy weight like one that beareth it manfully. No king could ever acquire the sovereignty of the earth, or prosperity, or affluence by means of virtue alone. Like a fowler earning his food in the shape of swarms of little easily tempted game, by offering them some attractive food, doth one that is intelligent acquire a kingdom, by offering bribes unto low and covetous enemies. Behold, the Asuras, Thog elder brothers in possession of power and affluence, were all vanquished by the gods through stratagem. Thus everything belongeth to those that are might, and slay thy foes, having recourse to stratagem. There is none equal unto Arjuna in yielding the bow in battle, nor is there anybody that may be equal unto me in yielding the mace. Strong men engaged in battle depending on their might, and not on their force of numbers, nor on information of the enemy plans procured through spies. Therefore, might is the root of wealth. Whatever else is said to be its root is really not such. As the shade of the tree in winter goeth for nothing, without might everything else becometh fruitless. Wealth should be spent by one who wisheth to increase his wealth, after the manner of scattering seeds on the ground. Let there be no doubt then in thy mind, where wealth that is more or even equal is not to be gained. There should be no expenditure of wealth, for investment of wealth are like the ass, scratching pleasurably at first, painful afterwards. Thus, the person who throweth away like seeds a little of his virtue in order to gain a large measure of virtue is regarded as wise. Beyond doubt, it is as I say. They that are wise alienate the friends of the foe that owneth such, and having weakened him by causing those friends to abandon him thus, they then reduce him to subjection. Even they that are strong, engaged in battle, depending on their courage, on cannot be even continued efforts, or by the art of conciliation, always conquer a kingdom. Sometimes men that are weak, when eating in large numbers, slay even a powerful foe, like bees killing the spoiler of the honey by force of numbers alone. Like the sun that sustaineth as well as slayeth creatures by his rays, adopt thou the ways of the sun, to protect one kingdom and cherish the people duly, as done by our ancestors. Is it have been heard by us, a kind of asceticism mentioned even in the Vedas. By asceticism, a Kshatriya cannot acquire such regions of blessedness as he can by fair fight, whether ending in victory or defeat. Beholding this thy distress, The world have come to the conclusion that light may forsake the sun and grace the moon, and good men separately as well as assembling together converse with one another, applauding thee and blaming the other. There is this, that both the Kurus and the Brahmanas assembling together gladly speak of thy firm adherence to truth, in that thou hast never from ignorance, from meanness, from covetousness, or from fear uttered an untruth. Whatever sin a king committeth in acquiring dominion, he consumeth it afterwards by means of sacrifice, distinguished by large gifts. Like the moon emerging from the clouds, the king is purified from all sins by bestowing villages on Brahmanas and kind by thousands. Almost all the citizens, as well as the inhabitants of the country, young or old, praise thee. These the people are saying amongst themselves, that as milk in a bag of dog's hide, as the Vedas in a Sudra, as truth in a robber, as strength in a woman, is sovereignty in Duryodhana. Even women and children are repeating this, as if it were a lesson they seek to commit to memory. Thou hast fallen into this state along with ourselves. We are lost with thee for this calamity of thine. Therefore, standing in thy car, furnished with every implement, and making the superior Brahmanas utter benedictions on thee, march thou with speed, even this every day, upon Hastinapura, in order that thou mayest be able to give unto Brahmanas the spoils of victory, surrounded by thy brothers, who are firm wielders of the bow, and by heroes skilled in weapons, and like unto snakes of virulent poison. Set thou art even like the slayer of Vitra, surrounded by the Marutas. And as thou art powerful, grind thou with thy might thy weak enemies, like Indra grinding the Asuras, and snatch thou from the Dhritarashtra's son the prosperity he enjoyeth. There is no mortal that can bear the touch of the shafts furnished with the feathers of the vulture and resembling snakes of virulent poison that would be shot from the Gandiva, and there is not a warrior, nor an elephant, nor a horse that is able to bear the impetus of my mace when I am angry in battle. Why should we not wrest our kingdom from the foe, fighting with the aid of the Srinjayas and Kaikeyas and the bull of the Vrishnihays? Why should we not succeed in wresting the earth that is now in the hands of the foe, if aided by large force we do strive? Thus addressed by Bhigasena, the high-souled king Ajatasattu, firmly devoted to truth, mustering his patience, after a few moments, said these words: No doubt all this is true. I cannot reproach thee for thy torturing me thus by piercing me with thy arrowy words. From my fall alone hath this calamity come against you. I sought to cast the dice, desiring to snatch from the Dhritarashtra's son his kingdom with the sovereignty. It was therefore that cunning gamblers, Suvala's son, played against me on behalf of Suyodhana. Sakuni, a native of the hill country, is exceedingly artful, casting the dice in the presence of the assembly. Unacquainted as I am with artifices of any kind, he vanquished me artful. It is, therefore, that we have been overwhelmed with this calamity. Beholding the dice favorably to the wishes of Sakuni, in odds and evens I could have controlled my mind. Anger, however, driveth off a person's patience. The mind cannot be kept under control when it is influenced by haughtiness, vanity, or pride. I do not here approach thee, for the words thou usest. I only regard that what hath befallen us was preordained, when King Duryodhana, the son of Dhritarashtra, coveting our kingdom, plunged us into misery and even slavery, then it was Draupadi that rescued us. When summoned again to the assembly for playing once more, thou knowest as well as Arjuna what the Dhritarashtra's son told me, in the presence of all the Bharatas, regarding the stake for which we were to play. His words were, thou shalt have with all thy brothers to dwell to the knowledge of all men for 12 years in the forest of thy choice, passing the 13th year in secrecy. If, during the later period, the spies of the Bharatas, hearing of thee, succeed in discovering thee, thou shalt have again to live in the forest for the same period, passing once more the last year in secrecy. Reflecting upon these, pledgest thyself to it. As regards myself, I promise truly in this assembly of the Kurus, that if thou canst pass this time confounding my spies and undiscovered by them, then this kingdom of the 5 heroes is once more thine. We, if vanquished by thee, shall, all of us, abandoning our wealth, pass the same period according to the same rules. Thus addressed by the prince, I replied unto him in the midst of all the Kurus, so be it. The wretched game then commenced. We were vanquished and have been exiled. It is for this that we are wandering miserably over different wood regions, abounding with discomforts. Suyoddhana, however, still dissatisfied, gave himself up to anger, and urged the Kurus, as also all those under his sway, to express their joy at our calamity. Having entered into such an agreement in the presence of all good men, who dareth break it for the sake of a kingdom on earth, for a respected person, I think even death itself is lighter than the acquisition of sovereignty it by an act of transgression. At the time of the play thou hast desired to burn my hands, thou wert prevented by Arjuna, and accordingly didst unsqueeze thy own hands. If thou couldst do what thou hast desired, could this calamity befall us? Conscious of thy prowess, why didst thou say before we entered into such an agreement? Overwhelmed with the consequence of our pledges, and the time itself having passed, what is the use of thy addressing me these harsh words? This is my great grief, that we could not do anything, even beholding Draupadi persecuted in that way. My heart burneth as if I have drunk some poisonous liquid. Having, however, given that pledge in the midst of the Kuru heroes, I am unable to violate it now. Wait for the return of our better days, like the scattering of seeds waiting for the harvest. When one that hath been first injured succeedeth in revenging himself upon his foe at the time when the latest enmity hath borne fruit and flowers, he is regarded to have accomplished a great thing by his prowess. Such a brave person earneth undying fame. Such a man obtaineth great prosperity. His enemies bow down unto him, and his friends gather round him, like the celestials clustering round Indra for protection. No, my promise can never be untrue. I regard victory as superior to life itself and the blessed state of celestial existence. Kingdom, sons, fame, wealth, all these do not come up to even a 16th part of truth. Bhima said, unsubstantial as thou art like froth, unstable like a fruit, dependent on time, immortal, having entered into an agreement in respect of time, which is infinite and immeasurably, quick like a shaft, or flowing like a stream, and carrying everything before it like death itself. How canst thou regard it as available by thee? How can he wait whose life is shortened every moment? even like a quantity of collyrium that is listened each time a grain is taken up by the needle. He on whose life is unlimited, or who knoweth with certitude what the period of his life is, and who knoweth the future as if it were before his eyes, can indeed wait for the arrival of time. If we wait for 13 years, that period shortening our lives will bring us nearer to death. Death is sure to overtake every creature having a corporeal existence. Therefore, we should strive for the possession of our kingdom before we die. He that faileth to achieve fame by failing to chastise his foes is like an unclean thing. He is a useless burden on the earth, like an incapacitated bull, and perisheth ingloriously. The man who, destitute of strength and courage, chastiseth not his foes, liveth in vain. I regard such a one as low-born. Thy hand can rain gold, thy fame spreadeth over the whole earth, slaying thy foes. Therefore, in battle enjoy thou the wealth acquired by the might of thy arms. If a man slaying his injurer goeth to verde into hell, that hell becometh heaven to him. The pain one feeleth in having to suppress own wrath is more burning than fire itself. Even now I burn with it and cannot sleep in day or the night. The son of Pritha, called Vibhihatsu, is foremost in drawing the bowstring. He certainly burneth with grief. Thog he liveth here like a lion in his den. This one that desireth to slay without aid all yielders of the bow on earth, oppresseth the wrath that riseth in his breast, like a mighty elephant. Nakula, Sahadeva, and old Kunti, that mother of heroes, are all dumb, desiring to please thee, and all our friends along with the Srinjayas equally desire to please thee. I alone, and Prativindhiya mother, speak unto thee burning with grief. Whatever I speak unto thee is agreeably to all of them, for all of them, plunged in distress, eagerly wish for battle. Then what more wretched a calamity can overtake us than that our kingdom should be wrested from us by weak and contemptible foes, and enjoyed by them? From the weakness of thy disposition, thou feelest shame in violating thy pledge. No one applaudeth thee for the suffering such pain in consequence of the kindliness of thy disposition. Thy intellect seeth not the truth, like that of foolish and ignorant person of high birth, who have committed the words of the Vedas to memory without understanding their sense. Thou art kind like a Brahmana. How hast thou been born in the Kshatriya order? They that are born in the Kshatriya order are generally of crooked hearts. Thou hast heard the duties of kings as promulgated by Manu, fraught with crookedness and unfairness, and precepts opposed to tranquility and virtue. Why dost thou then forgive the wicked sons of Dhritarashtra? Thou hast intelligence, prowess, learning, and high birth. Why dost thou then act in respect of thy duties, like a hooked snake that is destitute of motion? He that desireth to conceal us only wisheth to conceal the mountains of Himavat by means of a handful of grass. Know as thou art over the whole earth, thou wilt not be able to live unknown, like the sun that can never course through the sky unknown to men, like a large tree in a well-watered region, with spreading branches and flowers and leaves, or like Indra elephant. How will Jishnu live unknown? How will these children, the brothers Nakula and Sahadeva, equal unto a couple of young lions, both live in secret? How will Krishna, the doctor of Drupada, a prince and mother of heroes, of virtuous deeds, and know over all the world, live unknown? Me everybody knoweth from my boyhood. I do not see how I can live unknown. As well might mountains of Meru be sought to be concealed. Then again, many kings had been expelled by us from their kingdom. These kings and princes will all follow the bad son of Dhritarashtra, for hobbled and exiled by us, they have not still become friendly. Desiring to do good unto Dhritarashtra, they will certainly seek to injure us. They will certainly set against us numerous spies in disguise. If these discover us and report their discovery, a great danger will overtake us. We have already lived in the woods full 13 months. Regard them, for the length as 13 years. The wise have said that a month is a substitute for a year, like the pot herb that is regarded as a substitute for the summer. Thou mayest free thyself from this sin by offering good, savory food to a quiet bull carrying sacred burdens. Therefore, resolve thou to slay thy enemies. There is no virtue higher than fighting for every Kshatriya. Hearing those words of Bhishma, Yudhishthira, the son of Kunti, the tiger among men and the slayer of our foes, began to sigh heavily and reflect in silence, and he talked within himself. I have heard recited the duties of kings, all truth about the duties of the different orders. He saith to observe those duties, truly who keepeth them before his eyes, to regulate his conduct both in the present and the future. Knowing as I do the true course of virtue, which however is very difficult of being known, how can I possibly grind virtue down like grinding the mountains of Meru? Having reflected for a moment and settled what he should do, he replied unto Bhishma as follows, without allowing him another word. It is even as thou hast said. Listen now to another word I say. Whatever sinful deeds one seeketh to achieve depending on his courage alone, become always a source of pain. Whatever is begun with deliberation, with well-directed prowess, with all appliance, and much previous thought, is seen to succeed. The gods themselves favor such designs. Hear from me something about what, proud of thy might, and led away by thy hastiness, thou thinkest should be immediately begun. Behold his Ravas, Sala, the might Jalasandha, Bhishma, Drona, Karna, the might son of Drona, the Dhritarashtra sons, Duryodhana and others, difficult of being vanquished, are all accomplished in arms and ever ready for battle with us. Those kings and chiefs of the earth who have been injured by us have all adopted the side of the Kauravas and are bound by ties of affection to them. They are engaged in seeking the good of Duryodhana and not of us. With full treasuries and aided by large forces, they will certainly strive their best in battle. All the officers of the Kuru arm, together with their sons and relatives, have been honored by Duryodhana with wealth and luxuries. Those heroes are much regarded by Duryodhana. This is my certain conclusion, that they will sacrifice their lives for Duryodhana in battle. Our talk, the behavior of Bhishma, Drona, and the illustrious Kripa is the same towards us as towards them. Yet, this is my certain conclusion, that in order to pay off the royal favor they enjoy, they will throw their very lives, than which there is nothing dearer in battle. All of them are masters of celestial weapons and devoted to the practice of virtue. I think they are incapable of being vanquished even by gods led by Vasava himself. There is again amongst them that mighty warrior, Karna, impetuous and ever wrathful, master of all weapons, and invincibly and encased in impenetrably mail, without first vanquishing in battle all those foremost of men. Unaided as thou art, how canst thou slay Duryodhana? I cannot sleep thinking of the likeness of hand of that Sutta son, who, as God, is the foremost of all wielders of the bow. Hearing these words of Yudhishthira, the impetuous Bhishma became alarmed and forbore from speaking anything. And while the sons of Pandu were thus conversing with each other, there came to that spot the great ascetic Vyasa, the son of Satyavati, and as he came, the sons of Pandu worshipped him duly. Then that foremost of all speakers, addressing Yudhishthira, said, knowing by spiritual insight what is passing in thy heart, I have come to thee. The fear that is in thy heart, rising from Bhishma, and Drona, and Kripa, and Karna, and Drona's son, and Prince Duryodhana, and Dusasana, I will dispel by means of an act enjoined by the ordinance. Hearing it from me, accomplish it thou with patience, and having accomplished it, quell this fever of thine soon. That foremost of speakers, then the son of Parasara, taking Yudhishthira to a corner, began to address him in words of deep import, saying, the time is come for thy prosperity, when in thee, the Dhananjaya, that son of Pritha, we will slay all thy foes impatily, uttered by me and like unto success personified. Accept from me this knowledge called Pratismirit, that I impart to thee, knowing thou art capable of receiving it. Receiving it, Arjuna will be able to accomplish his desire. And let Arjuna go unto Mahendra, and Rudra, and Varuna, and Kuvera, and Yama, for receiving weapons from them. He is competent to behold the gods for his asceticism and prowess. He is even rich of great energy, the friend of Narayana, ancient, eternal, a god himself, invincibly, ever successful, and knowing no deterioration. He will achieve mighty deeds, having obtained weapons from Indra and Rudra and the Lokapalas, and think of going from these to some other forest that may be fit for thy abode. To reside in one place for any length of time is scarcely pleasant. In thy case, it might be productive of anxiety to the ascetics. And as thou maintainest numerous Brahmanas versed in the Vedas and the several branches thereof, continued residence here might exhaust the deer of this forest, and be destructive of the creepers and plants. Having addressed him thus, that illustrious and exalted ascetic Vyasa of great wisdom, acquainted with the mysteries of the world, then imparted unto the willing Yudhishthira, the just, who had meanwhile purified himself, that foremost of sciences, and bidding farewell unto the son of Kunti, Vyasa disappeared then and there. The virtuous and intelligent Yudhishthira, however, having obtained that knowledge, carefully retained it in his mind, and always recited it on proper occasions. Glad of the advice given him by Vyasa, the son of Kunti, then leaving the wood divided Vana, went to the forest of Kamyaka, on the banks of the Sarasvati, and numerous Brahmanas of ascetic merit and versed in the science of orthoepy and orthography followed him like the rich following the chief of the celestials. Arrived at Kamyaka, those illustrious bulls amongst the Bharata took up their residence there along with their friends and attendants, and possessed of energy, those heroes lived there for some time. devoted to exercise of the bow and hearing all the while the chanting of the Vedas. And they went about those woods every day in search of deer, armed with poor arrows, and they duly performed all the rites in honor of the Pitris, the celestials, and the Brahmanas. After some time, Yudhishthira, the just, remembering the command of the Muni, and calling unto himself that bow among men, Arjuna, possessed of great wisdom, addressed him in private, taking hold of Arjuna's hands with a smiling face and in gently assent, that chastiser of foes, the virtuous Yudhishthira, apparently after reflecting for a moment, spake these words in private unto the Dhananjaya. The whole science of arms dwelleth in Bhishma, and Drona, and Kripa, and Karna, and Drona's son. They full know all sorts of Brahma, and celestial, and human, and Vayaviya weapons, together with the modes of using and warding them off. All of them are conciliated and honored and gratified by the Dhritarashtra's son, who behaveth unto them as one should behave unto his preceptor. Towards all his warriors, Dhritarashtra's son behaveth with great affection, and all the chiefs, honored and gratified by him, seek his good in return. Thus honored by him, they will not fail to put forth their might. The whole earth, besides, is now under Duryodhana's sway, with all the villages and towns, and all the seas and woods and mines. Thou alone art our sole refuge. On thee resteth a great burden. I shall tell thee what thou art to do now. I have obtained a science from Krishna Dvaipayana. Used by thee, that science will expose the whole universe to thee. Attentively receive thou that science from me, and in due time attain thou the grace of the celestials, and devote thyself to fierce asceticism, armed with the bow and sword, encased in mail. Betake thyself to austerities and good vows, and go thou northwards, without giving way to anybody. Our celestial weapons are with Indra. The celestials, from fear of Vritra, imparted at the time all their might to Sakra. Gathered together in one place, thou wilt obtain our weapons. Go thou unto Sakra, he will give thee all his weapons. Taking the bow, set thou out this very day in order to behold Purandara. Having said this, the exalted Yudhishthira, the just, imparted that science unto Arjuna, and the elder brother, having communicated with due reach the knowledge unto his heroic brother, with speech and body and mind under perfect control, commanded him to depart. And at the command of Yudhishthira, the strong-armed Arjuna, taking up the Gandiva and his inexhaustible quivers, and accoutred in mail and gauntlets and finger protectors, made of the skin of the guana, and having poured oblations into the fire, and made the Brahmanas to utter benedictions after gifts, set out with the objects of beholding Indra. And armed with the bow, the hero, at the time of setting out, heaved aside, and cast a look upwards for achieving the death of Dhritarashtra's sons. And beholding Kunti's son, thus armed and about to set out, the Brahmanas and Siddhas and invisible spirits addressed him, saying, Obtain thou soon what thou wishest. And the Brahmanas, uttering benedictions, said, Achieve thou the object thou hast in view. Let victory be truly thine. And beholding the heroic Arjuna of tigers stout as the trunks of the sala, about to set out, taking away with him the hearts of all, Krishna addressed him, saying, Let all that Kunti had desired at thy birth, and let all that thou desirest be accomplished. Let no one amongst us be ever again born in the order of Kshatriyas. I always bow down unto the Brahmanas, whose mode of living is mendicance. This is my great grief, that the wretch Duryodhana, beholding me in the assembly of princes, mockingly called me a cow. Besides this, he told me in the midst of that assembly many other hard things. The grief I experienced at parting with thee is far greater than any I felt at those insults. Certainly, in thy absence, thy brothers will while away their waking hours in repeatedly talking of thy heroic deeds. If thou stayest away for any length of time, we shall derive no pleasure for our enjoyments or from wealth. Nay, life itself will be distasteful to us. Or well and woe, life and death, or kingdom and prosperity are all dependent on thee. I bless thee, let success be thine. Thy task thou wilt be able to achieve even against powerful enemies. Go thou to win success with speed, let dangers be not thine. I bow to Dhihatri and Vidhihatri. I bless thee, let prosperity be thine, and let Hri, Sri, Kirti, Dhirit, Pusti, Uma, Lakshmi, Sarasvati, I'll protect thee on thy way, for thou ever worshippest thy elder brother, and ever obeyest his commands. And I bow to the Vasus, the Rudras, the Adityas, the Marutas, the Visvadevas, and the Sadhiyas, for procuring thy welfare, and be thou safe from all spirits of mischief belonging to the sky, the earth, the heaven, and from such other spirits generally. Krishna, the doctor of Yajnasena, having uttered these benedictions, ceased. The strong-armed son of Pandu, then, having walked round his brothers and round the Haumia, and taking up his handsome bow, set out. And all creatures began to leave the way that Arjuna, of great energy and prowess, urged by the desire of beholding Indra, took. And that his layer of force passed over many mountains inhabited by ascetics, and then reached the sacred Himavat, the resort of the celestials, and the high-souled on reached the sacred mountain in one day, for like the winds he was gifted with the speed of the mind, in consequence of his ascetic austerities, and having crossed the Himavat, the Gandhika Madana, he passed over many uneven and dangerous spots, walking night and day without fatigue. And having reached Indrakila, the Dhananjaya stopped for a moment, and then he heard a voice in the skies saying, "Stop." And hearing that voice, the son of Pandu cast his glances around, and Arjuna, capable of using his left hand with skill equal to that of his right hand, then beheld before him an ascetic under the shade of a tree, blazing with Brahma brilliance, of a tawny color, with matted locks and dim. And the mighty ascetic, beholding Arjuna stop at that place, addressed him, saying, "Who art thou, arrived hither with bow and arrows, encased in mail, and accoutred in scabbard and gauntlet, and wedded to the customs of the Kshatriya? There is no need of weapons here. This is the abode of peaceful Brahmanas, devoted to ascetic austerities, without anger or joy. There is no use for the bow here, for there is no dispute in this place of any kind. Therefore throw away this bow of thine. Thou hast obtained a poor state of life by coming here. There is no man who is like thee in energy and prowess." That Brahmana thus addressed Arjuna with a smiling face repeatedly. He succeeded not in moving Arjuna, firmly devoted to his purpose. The regenerate one, glad at heart, smiling addressed Arjuna once more, saying, Blessed be thou, I am Sakra, ask thou the boon thou desirest. Thus addressed, that perpetuator of the Kuruhais, the heroic Dhananjaya, bending his head and joining his hands, replied unto him of 1,000 eyes, saying, Even this is the object of my wishes. Grant me this boon. I desire to learn from thee all the weapons. The chief of the Celestials then, smiling, replied unto him cheerfully, saying, When thou hast reached this region, what need is there of weapons? Thou hast already obtained a poor state of life. Ask thou for the regions of bliss that thou desirest. Thus addressed, the Dhananjaya replied unto him of 1,000 eyes, saying, I desire not regions of bliss, nor objects of enjoyment, nor the state of a celestial. What is this talk about happiness? I do not desire the prosperity of all the gods. Having left my brothers behind me in the forest, and without avenging myself on the foe, shall I incur the opprobrium of all ages of all the world. Thus addressed the slave of Vritra, worshipped of the world, consoling him with gentle words, spake unto the son of Pandu, saying, When thou art able to behold the three-eyed, trident-bearing Shiva, the Lord of all creatures, it is then that I will give thee all the celestial weapons. Therefore strive thou to obtain the sight of the heights of the gods, for it is on after thou hast seen him, that thou wilt obtain all thy wishes. Having spoken thus unto Pihalguna, Sakra disappeared then and there, and Arjuna, devoting himself to asceticism, remained at that spot.